At the same time, the people at Kamar Taj also discovered a problem in you, that you never borrow the power of Mephisto. You cast spells all on your own, which shocked everyone in Kamar Taj. After all, only relying on personal mana is too little, and it is impossible to support magician to fight for too long, or to release very powerful spells. As we all know, people are limited, and it is the right way to lie down and borrow the power of Mephisto. Regarding your approach, Kamar Taj's people have come to persuade you, hoping that you can change this habit, otherwise, in future battles, they are afraid that you will die directly in battle. However, you are determined to go your own way, insisting that the road of mana will go to the black. For your perseverance, Kamar Taj's people are undoubtedly positive, but they are definitely not optimistic about the results. Seeing Kamar Taj's people persuade him, Li Shu shook his head slightly. To be honest, these people must have a good starting point. After all, people do have their limits, and it is simply impossible to test their own cultivation to obtain mana comparable to Mephisto. Moreover, the lifespan of human beings is extreme, so I want to explode a powerful force in a short period of time. It is normal to ask Mephisto for help, such as the sorrow of the human magician. The magicians of Kamar Taj cast powerful and expensive magic, basically in order to protect the earth. The protector is the earth and the people on the earth, but the price is not shared with the people on the earth, but swallowed alone. This is also the greatness of the magicians of Kamar Taj. Just like the Ancient One, it has always suffered from the erosion of dark forces, but in order to protect the earth, it has to use these forces again and again. This is why those ascetics are willing to share the cost. They are not the price to be paid for the Ancient One, they are actually the price to be paid for the earth and its creatures. For every extra cent of the pain they endured, the peace of the earth increased. The years are peaceful, and someone must be carrying the load for you. Ancient One has guarded the earth for hundreds of years. While she is suffering from the dark erosion, she also bears the guilt of sharing the price with her disciples and friends, which makes Ancient One live in pain all the time. This is also where Ancient One finally wants to die because she is really tired. That's the sad part of the magicians of Kamar Taj, who are the real superhero. Li Shu admires this. However, he certainly didn't have to go that route. After all, human beings have limits, but not on the wall. The mana that has been cultivated for several years is too weak? What about the decades, hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of years? Li Shu can accumulate other people's mana for several years in one day, and in 1 year, that is the mana for thousands of years. Furthermore, Li Shu practiced magic, not using magic as his main combat tool. For him, magic is to decipher those bizarre means and make it easier for him to approach the magician. Once he got close to the magician, he directly broke the opponent in half and sent him to see God on the spot. Magician is used for melee combat, definitely, this magician refers to the enemy. Month 17. Strange finally entered Kamar Taj. This guy quickly became the star of Kamar Taj. Because his efficiency in learning magic is extremely perverted, even higher than yours. Most importantly, Strange is willing to borrow Beelzebub's power, so Strange progresses rapidly. This led to Kamar Taj's magicians focus on Lai Chi. You don't feel much about this, and you continue to cultivate with great concentration. You continuously forge and meditate on your spirit through astral projection. Your spiritual power becomes stronger and stronger, and finally your telepathy ability has undergone a qualitative change. Your telepathy ability, get a new ability. Able to identify the other's mood swings. At the same time, it can launch attacks to cause dizziness to others. The stronger the enemy's mental power or mental shield, the worse this effect will be. At the same time, the power of spirit ability will lead to a considerable increase in the effect when you release spirit ability. The telepathy ability has evolved, gaining 2 new abilities. Assist and attack. In addition, his spiritual power is strong, so that his spiritual skills will be more powerful. He instantly thought of the spiritual barrier he was learning. With the blessing of this ability, the spiritual barrier would be even stronger. In addition, the strange arrival makes you feel a sense of crisis, that is, the sense of crisis for the floating cloak. After all, Strange is coming, the cloak may not be far from him, you must get the suspension cloak before him. So you ask again about Mordo taking you to visit Holy Place in New York City. Mordo takes you to visit Holy Place in New York City. After you go in, talk to the Guardian Magician Roar. Then the Guardian Magician will take you to visit Holy Place, and soon, you will see the suspended cloak, placed in the glass. You immediately asked about this cloak, and the Guardian Magician said that this is an extremely powerful magic weapon, which has protected the Sorcerer Supreme for many generations, has a strong protection ability, and has a strong spirituality. You said to the guardian magician that you want to touch this cloak, and you want to see if the other party has fate with you. Your ability to crack treasures needs to be touched with your own hands to trigger the effect. For your request, the guardian magician refuses. After all, if the cloak really accepts the master, the other party will express it. Now that the cloak has no sign, it is said that the cloak has no possibility of identifying the master. Modu is also laughing at you, saying that not all the magic tools in the world are destined for you, and that you were able to get his scepter last time. It is only a matter of extremely small probability. Afterwards, he said to the guardian magician, "Let you try it and die." Looking at Mordo's face, the guardian magician opened the glass cover, indicating that he would let you touch it. Thank you very much for Mordo's assist. You immediately touched the suspended cloak, and began to break the prohibition on the invasion. You quickly find out that the restraint of the suspended cloak is more complicated than you thought, and it takes more time for you, so you spend more time touching it with your hands. So while you touch the cloak, you praise the workmanship and appearance of the cloak. The guardian magician and Mordo were dumbfounded when they looked at you. It never occurred to them that you'd catch a cloak and brag about it like a man. Mordo said quickly, "Even if you boast about this cloak, it will not recognize the master. The cloak will seek out his natural master, and if you are his true master, he will follow you even if you do nothing. If you're not the real master, everything you do is in vain." The guardian magician couldn't help laughing when he saw it. He said that this cloak basically followed the Sorcerer Supreme, and basically no one got it. This thing is very cold in the face of other people, you can't have a chance. You're procrastinating. Question, isn't there a non-Sorcerer Supreme wearing this cape? The other party said that in his impression, only Sorcerer Supreme has worn this cloak. You chatted with him for a while, and he also saw that you seemed a little weird kid, just didn't want to put down the cloak. So he stopped chatting with you and told you to drop your cloak. However, through such an effort, you finally cracked and invaded the suspension cloak, and it became your shape. So you put down your cloak. Modu smiled, "It's not yours, it's useless no matter how you force it." The guardian magician slowly lowered the glass cover. At this time, the cloak suddenly flew out, turned around you happily, and finally hung on your shoulders all at once. This scene was unpredictable, and the teasing on the faces of the two people instantly solidified. You look at them with a chuckle, and it seems that the compliments still have some effect. Seeing the cloak that became your magic weapon, the two stood there, feeling that the whole person was split. This situation completely shattered their cognition. You who got the cloak are satisfied. After you returned to the room at night, when your clairvoyant scanned the surrounding environment, you saw that both of them were secretly speaking praises to some magical instruments. The degree of the words was more coquettish and numb than yours. It was very similar. What to say to your girlfriend? This scene blows your mind. Seeing this, Li Shu's eyes lit up. At that time, he solidified the words of this ability. He can walk around Holy Place in New York City. Zheng Zhij has not come out yet, he can successfully make the cloak into his shape. The fact that you got the suspended cloak of the Sorcerer Supreme's standard instrument also spread throughout Kamar Taj, causing a sensation in the entire Kamar Taj. After all, this cloak artifact has always been subject to the Sorcerer Supreme, but it ended up in your hands, a weak magician who will never borrow Beelzebub's power. This scene shattered the entire Kamar Taj magician's eye. There are even very few people who say that you may be the future Sorcerer Supreme of Destiny. Originally, Kamar Taj had a lot of popularity in Kamar Taj, and many people even thought that he was the future Sorcerer Supreme, but your operation took away a lot of strange scenery in an instant. People can't help but toss between you and Strange, and discuss who you and Strange are the true Sorcerer Supreme of the future. Seeing this, Li Shu was slightly stunned. By the time he gets his hands on the suspended cloak, the Kamar Taj people won't think he's the future Sorcerer Supreme. Month 19. During this time, you still insisted on training your body hard. Your ultimate strength has improved dramatically, increasing by 120 tons. The total ultimate strength has reached 705 tons. You have successfully broken through the 700 mark, you are getting closer and closer to 1,000 tons, and you are very happy in your heart. In addition to this, the range of your see-through ability and super hearing has also been increased by 2 kilometers, reaching 7 kilometers. 19 months have passed, and his ultimate strength has reached 700 tons. Li Shu saw this, and the corners of his mouth twitched slightly. His physical strength is getting closer and closer to the people of the motherland. Now that his physical strength is coupled with magical ability, he no longer needs to fear the natives. Even if he can't kill him, he can't hurt him anymore. This month, Ancient One said on the training ground that he would take you and Mordo to deal with the traitor, Caecilius. Hearing the news, the people below were all astonished. After all, they all know that you are a little magician who never borrows Beelzebub's power, and it is difficult to form a sustained fighting force. In their opinion, it is obviously not a safe thing to take you to find Caecilius, the great magician. The following people are talking a lot, but Ancient One's expression remains unchanged. Just waiting for the answer from you and Mordo. You said yes, because you also lack the actual combat experience of using magic and super ability. You need a more powerful magician as your opponent. As soon as your answer came out, there was a commotion in the audience. They never imagined that you would choose to follow the Ancient One to kill Caecilius. Caecilius is not alone after all, he has a group of followers. If you go, you will definitely compete with the group of black necromancers under his command. But your mana won't be able to sustain you fighting other magicians, so it's very dangerous to go there. Mordo says he will follow Ancient One, but he is skeptical about taking you. He thinks it's too dangerous for you. He thinks it can be replaced by Strange. These 3 months have passed, and the level of bizarreness has grown by leaps and bounds. Finally Ancient One said to bring the 3 of you. As soon as this matter came out, the whole Kamar Taj boiled. They were all talking about you, and they were very worried about you. Even Mo Kui came to persuade you. I hope you can borrow Beelzebub's power, otherwise, it is best not to go with them. He said that if they really fight at that time, they may not be able to take you into account. You have shown his good intentions, and you have sufficient ability to protect yourself. 20th month. At the same time, you finally learned, mental barrier. 22nd month. You followed the Ancient One magician and successfully found Caecilius and others. The symbol of Dormammu has appeared on the foreheads of Caecilius et al. At the moment. Caecilius's eyes are on you. He said he knew who you were 10, killed Mandarin, and was the sorcerer supreme of the future destiny, but I heard that he was a rubbish magician who would not take advantage of it. He said that you will die here today, with the Ancient One magician. He was going to kill 2 generations of Sorcerer Supreme at once and sacrifice it to Dormammu. He will completely melt the earth into Dormammu's body and become an eternal existence. He lets one of his minions attack you, killing you quickly. Then, together with one of his subordinates, he fought against the Ancient One. Mordo and Strange each fought one of Caecilius's men. No one cares about you. Moro's face was anxious, and he wanted to help you, but duplication was lacking. He let you escape. Then you do it, but you're not here to fight a little magician. But the other party is killing you, you can only solve the other party first. You released the crimson rope, grabbed the opponent instantly, and then burst into hot eyes, beheading the opponent. Everything happened in an instant, almost no one reacted, that person was already dead. Your clean beheading shocked everyone present. They had absolutely no idea that you would be so powerful. Everyone except Ancient One thought you were just a little magician, but they didn't expect you to be so powerful. Then, you burst into Caecilius. It's just that Caecilius's movements are also very fast, and he instantly launches a mental attack on you, but you have already hung a mental barrier on your body, blocking the opponent's attack. Almost in the next instant, you will behead him. As a result, he directly launched the mirror world. You and him were instantly dislocated, and the distance between the two was widened. But at the same time, your crimson rope has been placed on him, and at the same time, you cracked the mirror image of the opponent, so that he could not escape. He was pulled by a huge force and flew towards you, and at the same time you burst out. This time, Caecilius was too late to move. Your hand chopped off his head in an instant, blood splattered everywhere, and it was extremely violent. The mirror world shattered, the bodies of you and Caecilius fell out, and everyone was shocked. At the same time, it also frightened the opponent's subordinates. The opponent's subordinates almost didn't think about it, so they directly opened the portal and prepared to run away. When you came out, you found that Ancient One was still hit by a knife, was pushed out of the portal, and fell from the sky. You could have gone to the rescue, but the Ancient One's smile stopped you. In the end, the Ancient One died. You attacked immediately, but escaped too. Leftover. Your heat vision exploded, beheading everyone. In an instant, all the enemies were beheaded by you. Whether it was Mordo or Chi-Chi, they were all shocked by the scene. They didn't expect that you would be so strong. They immediately rushed to the Ancient One's corpse, watching the sorrow of Ancient One. Kamar Taj also heard about the battle, and everyone was horrified by your strength. They didn't expect you to have double cultivation of magic and super ability. After this battle, your popularity in Kamar Taj has been pushed to the top. A lot of people think you are the next Sorcerer Supreme. However, there are also many people who think that your spell ability is not qualified enough to be Sorcerer Supreme. But compared to you, the strange strength is much inferior. For a while, this place was vacant. 26th month. Through this period of hard work, you have finally learned magic, invisible, which can make you invisible and penetrate objects. In addition, your mana is further increased. The mana you have first is enough to support your battles, enough to crack the treacherous attacks of the rest of the magicians, and make your super ability play the most effective role. You start to learn a difficult magic, Shape of Akin, which can separate out more duplications to help you fight. If you have this magic, it will be a big improvement to your strength. However, this magic is extremely difficult, coupled with a lot of mana, so your progress is slow. At the same time, you also began to inquire about the Book of Waishandi from Wang Fangfang. After all, the Book of Waishandi can contain the most powerful magic in the world, but you found nothing. You did not give up, but continued to search in Kamar Taj. 34th month. You finally relied on your own mana to release the Shape of Akin, and your mana finally supported you to release this magic. Currently, you can only summon 5 duplications, but each duplication has the same strength as you and can last for 20 minutes. See here. Li Shu's eyes lit up. Akin's trip. This is equivalent to shadow duplication, but this shadow duplication has 100% of the strength of the original body, except that it is a bit short. But it's also very powerful. But time, summoning several self with the same strength, instantly greatly improved his combat effectiveness. And this magic will continue to grow through practice, summoning more duplication, lasting longer. He remembered that Chi-Chi had summoned dozens, hundreds of gangs to fight Thanos at one time. The difference is that Chi-Chi uses the power of magic touch, and he uses his own magic power to display it. 39th month. After this period of hard work, your ultimate strength has improved dramatically, increasing your strength by 120 tons. Your total ultimate strength has successfully reached 825 tons. At this time, the Hong Kong holy place changed, holy place collapsed, and the world was swallowed up. Kamar Taj was shocked. You all came to Hong Kong holy place, and then saw that 1/3 of Hong Kong has been involved in the dark world. On it stood a man who was completely blackened, one of the men of Kisilius who had escaped a year ago, and the other party completed the call to Dormammu. Seeing you, the other party smiled, saying that you killed their spiritual leader a year ago, and he will kill you today. Countless huge amounts of tentacles stick out from the dark world, piercing your body directly, and you're dead. Seeing the end, Li Shu was slightly taken aback. Good guy, the guy who escaped before finally summoned Dormammu. And the other party gave him special treatment. Directly aimed the first attack at him. But this time around, he has already gained a lot. Whether it's ability number 5 or magic, there are huge amounts of boosts. Even his body directly broke through 800 tons. Looking at the last simulation time, 39 hours. This is the longest time he has ever had. It's a pity that he hasn't touched any information about the Book of Emperor Weishan. I don't even know where the Book of Emperor Weishan is. Li Shu smashed his mouth regretfully. This simulation is over. The number of simulation days is months, and the cooling time is hours. Analog level. S. When the simulation level reaches S, you can solidify a golden level or an ability below the golden level, or randomly reward it once. Please choose to inherit an ability. The inherited ability will definitely appear in the next simulation. Save the current strength to the host. Save the current mana. Save the basic magic you've learned from Bethak's Thunder, Cytorak's Crimson Girdle, Ragador 7 Rings, Portals, and more. Save the high-level magic Astral Projection. Save the high-level magic Mental Barrier. Save the high-level magic Dimension Mirror. Save the high-level magic Akin Shape. Save 25 tons of ultimate power. Save flight speed, Mach 5. Save super perspective, super hearing radius 7 kilometers. Save the new telepathy ability, for a moment. A large amount of mana poured into Li Shu's body. Like a river flowing in his body. Besides, there are various magical knowledge in his mind. Most importantly, because the source of his magic power is his own mana, and he uses Sling Ring as a medium to communicate with magic giants, so he can release magic without Sling Ring at all. He waved. A portal appeared in front of him. The sun was shining brightly outside, in stark contrast to the late night on his side. Beyond the portal is the other side of the world. He waved his hand again, and the portal disappeared. In his head, All kinds of magic knowledge are flowing. A smile appeared on the corner of Li Shu's mouth. Now, he finally doesn't have to be afraid of magician. Using magic to add his physical strength, he is almost a magician nemesis. As long as you don't encounter an overly powerful one like the Ancient One. At the same time, an extremely arrogant and majestic force poured into his body. His physical strength, as well as his qualities in all aspects, are climbing like crazy. After finally stopping, he felt that the strength in his body was too strong to be added. 800 tons of power. In this simulation, he lifted more than 300 tons. In the next simulation, he should be able to break through the 1,000 tons, and then he can test the strength of the motherland in the simulation. Next is the curing ability. Solid purple ability, baby crack. Next moment. An ability and a lot of knowledge poured into Li Shu's mind. In an instant, he clearly understood all kinds of similar restrictions on treasures, as well as the related cracking methods. Coupled with his special ability, he can crack and invade these treasures, and then turn them into his own. His special ability is very special. After all, most of the treasures in this world don't say that they recognize the master, and at most add a magic to identify the user. But his ability is to mark these treasures with the identity of the master. As long as they don't have his permission, even if other people get his treasures, it will not be effective. Definitely, if he allows it, the other party will be able to use the baby's effect. However, if he wants to mark it, he has to break the above restriction first, so that his ability can enter the treasure. If he encounters a complex prohibition that cannot be broken, he can only stare blankly, and he can only continue to recognize the Lord by learning the method of breaking. This kind of situation is still very rare. After all, he can break the ban on such a powerful magic weapon as the suspension cloak. This said, except for very top treasures, they can basically be cracked by him. Seeing this, Li Shu smiled. This time, he can talk about fate with more treasures. He can also strengthen this ability by learning more prohibitions, and eventually reach the point where all the treasures in the world are destined for him. With this thing, he can go and retrieve a treasure or two. The suspended cloak of Holy Place, New York, and the 2 things that landed from Asgard in New Mexico. Recently, he also heard about the New Mexico hammer, and he understood that it was the Meow Meow hammer that landed. Definitely, those 2 things from Asgard require a little skill and cannot be taken directly. But the suspension cloak, he can get it first. After all, if he was chosen by the levitating cloak, the Holy Place of New York would also stop the cloak's whereabouts. After all, whoever is selected by the magic weapon will belong to the magic weapon. This is a long-standing rule in the magic world. Just when Li Shu was thinking about the cloak. At the moment, Magician Daniel, the guardian of Holy Place in New York City, suddenly had a cold war. He suddenly felt a gloomy wind, and his eyelids jumped. Daniel murmured. "What's the matter? Why do I feel a little bad? Am I going to be unlucky? Or is Holy Place going to be thieves? An inexplicable unease rose in my heart." The guardian magician hurriedly got up from the bedroom and toward the Holy Place. When he found that there was no one and nothing was missing, he was slightly relieved and went back to the bedroom to continue sleeping. Just this night, guardian magician has always felt strange in his heart. He didn't get a good night's sleep, and he woke up with dark circles the next day. The guardian magician looked at the dark circles in the mirror and didn't understand what was going on. In Li Shu's bedroom, S-level evaluation solidifies the purple ability and compensates for a random reward. You get a reward, a set of design drawings of the gravity room, from the world of Dragon Ball. Subsequently, a string of memories flooded into Li Shu's mind. It's about building a gravity room, that is, building a house that can increase gravity. It can tap the potential of the body to a great extent and has a strong training effect. For a person like Li Shu who specializes in excavating physical strength and exercising, it is tailor-made for him. After all, as his physical body continues to strengthen, he continues to pervert. The previous training methods will be gradually eliminated due to ineffectiveness. After he is too strong, it will not be easy to find a better training method later. Just like the natives, the other party wants to exercise, but basically there is no way to stimulate his body, because the cells are too strong, which makes it difficult for the natives to grow to the current stage. Not because the potential is fully tapped, but because there is no specific and effective training method. He quickly scanned the memory in his mind, wanting to see how many times the gravity room technology he obtained could increase the gravity at most. Soon, he found the number 3,000. The multiple of the gravity room in his mind can reach up to 3,000 times. See here. Li Shu took a deep breath. Good guy. The highest can be adjusted to 3,000 times. he now estimates that he can adapt to 200 or 300 gravity and produce results. 3,000 times, it can let him train for a long time. Li Shu showed a smile. Training under this gravity, his training effect can be improved again. The next step is to inherit the ability. He still has 2 abilities, God rewards diligence, and Magic Wizard. After thinking for a while, he finally chose the ability, Heaven's Way rewards diligence. After all, for him, magic is more of an auxiliary means, assisting him to decipher magician, and then let him use absolute power to attack the opponent. He learned magic in order to prevent the suffocating effect of hitting cotton with absolute power. At present, the magic on him is enough. Next, in the simulation, he kept accumulating mana, making his mana as majestic as a god. At that time, even if he doesn't borrow Beelzebub's power, he will be able to explode the power of Mephisto. He'll be the real magician first. I choose to inherit, Heaven's Way rewards diligence. Inherit the ability, God rewards diligence. The next simulation will definitely appear. After the finishing touches on the simulation are done, Li Shu came to the floor-to-ceiling window and looked outside. Tonight, the sky is shrouded in clouds and mist, making it impossible to see the stars. Seeing this, Li Shu moved his hand slightly. No golden formation appeared, but Li Shu's body began to become transparent. Magic invisible, can also pass through the wall. He easily passed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, looked up at the cloudy sky, took a breath, and then spit it out. Roar. The wind was like a wave, rolling toward the sky. The clouds and mists in the sky were blown away, revealing the bright stars behind them, which were extremely bright and picturesque. Seeing this, Li Shu stepped back and entered the floor-to-ceiling window. He stood in front of the window and looked at the beautiful starry sky with a satisfied smile. Time is for admiring the view. This night, many people in New York found that the clouds and mists on the sea were suddenly pushed aside, revealing the magnificent and splendid galaxy behind them, which attracted countless admiration. Everyone thought it was a gift from God, and let the wind blow away the clouds. One by one, they took pictures of the starry sky at sea, and even posted them on the forum. However, these people did not know that the beauty was not given to them by God, but by a man who lived above the Manhattan building. The beautiful scenery made Li Shu feel more happy. He immediately thought about what to do next. He will go to get the levitation cloak and the 10 commandments first. Then, he will go through the 10 precepts to tame the extraordinary dragon. After doing this, it's time to go to New Mexico. Put your own mark on Meow Meow Hammer and Destroyer. Definitely, the Meow Meow Hammer has to be left to Thor for the time being. After all, this is an important tool for Thor's growth. Once the Meow Meow Hammer is taken away, there will be huge amounts of influence on Thor's growth. Not to mention changing the plot, it is easy to be targeted by Odin. Although Odin is about to die and has now declined to the extreme, the slender camel is bigger than a horse. He doesn't want to be in direct contact with Odin right now. Therefore, this kind of thing can only be kept secret by Chen Kang, and after Meow Meow's hammer is broken, he will take the hammer back. By the way, I also let Meow Meow hammer upgrade, and there is an additional magic knife 1000 blades, shard attack effect. Although the hammer was broken, it was not broken. The hammer can also continue to be combined together, continue to use, and explode the power of Thor. It can even disperse into countless fragments, forming a powerful and deadly range attack. This should not be called 1000 blades of a magic knife, it should be called a broken star. His ability does not belong to magic, it belongs to the ability of the simulator. Odin of the magic department is difficult to detect, and there is no such thing as the identification of the master logo in this world. So as long as he secretly lays down the logo, no one will know that he is stealing matter. And then there's the matter of building a gravity room. Thought here. Li Shu nodded slightly. After admiring the starry sky for a while, he washed and slept. After all, there are still a lot of things to solve tomorrow. Li Shu fell asleep. The next day, infinite sun shines through the wide and bright floor-to-ceiling windows, filling Li Shu's spacious bedroom, covering his bed, and everything is golden. Li Shu woke up in the warmth and looked outside. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, thousands of hectares of blue waves, seagulls flying horizontally, fishes churning, a dynamic trend. Li Shu stretched a little, and then he looked bright. After eating a lot of food, Li Shu left the house and ran towards his first destination. That is the old mountain city, 10 precepts. Li Shu's heart was still full of excitement and anticipation. After all, the 10 commandments can make his ability more comprehensive, and even greatly enhance his destructive power. Boom. The white figure ripped apart the sky, leaving behind a long trail of sonic boom clouds. Disappeared over New York City, in a villa. Mandarin is counting the boxes in front. It's full of gold, so it's worth at least 100 million USD. Gold has a high density and does not seem to be large, about cubic meters. But this thing is very solid, weighing 1.6 tons. Mandarin looked at the gold and said with a smile, "Finally, I have gathered the gold, and in a few months, I can give it to him. At that time, I will be able to get rid of the hidden dangers on the 10 Commandments." Saying that, he looked at the 10 different rings on his hand, and a smile appeared on his face. There was a glint in his eyes. At that time, wait for him to successfully master these ring powers. He will take all those dragons as his subordinates, and when the time comes to get that thing, he can invade the world. Mandarin thinks of this, and his heart is very happy. Then, there was a sneering laughter in the whole room. Call out. At the speed of Mach 5, Li Shu quickly ran from the east coast to the west coast. Did you come to the sky above that villa? Li Shu stood in midair, staring at the bottom. His eyes flashed lightly, and the super perspective unfolded. In an instant, all the situation below was brought into view. For a moment, Mandarin's smiling face and laughter were brought into his mind. What attracted his attention more than the 10 rings on the opponent's hand? Li Shu's eyes flashed with fire. With a light stroke of his hand, Li Shu's body fluctuated with mana. Then his whole person became translucent. Invisible activate. However, Li Shu is not completely invisible now, but in a virtual state. In addition to stealth, it is another price, and it consumes more mana. The mana on Li Shu was earned by himself, not a lot, so he needed to be careful. This is also one of the reasons why he did not use the teleportation gate, spanning more than 4,000 kilometers. The consumption is still a bit large. Another reason was that he simply wanted to fly. This magic is very easy to use. It has both material traversal and invisibility, but the consumption is a bit large, and when using this ability, you cannot use the ability of the attack type, otherwise it will be invalid. Call out. Li Shu walked directly through the villa and came to Mandarin. I saw the man in white who suddenly appeared. Mandarin was startled, his cold eyes burst into murderous intent, and he was about to activate the 10 Commandments. But Li Shu moved faster. The mental attack was launched directly, as fast as lightning, much faster than the speed of sound. For a moment, Mandarin's head was hit, and he was lost in pain. At this moment, Li Shu flicked his hand lightly, and 10 orange filaments flew out. Magic Whip. Magicians' most commonly used magic, can be used as a weapon or as a defense. It is one of Kamar Taj's most classic moves. Filament instantly grabbed the 10 rings. He pulled. The 10 Commandments flew out of Mandarin's hand and landed on Li Shu's hand. 10 Commandments. Got it. Looking at the 10 rings in his hand, Li Shu smiled. With one hand facing the 10 rings, he began to turn. In an instant, a red magic circle appeared in front of the hand. The powerful soul strangling ability rushed into the 10 Commandments. The things inside the 10 rings seemed to be threatened, and they turned into 10 black skeletons and rushed out of the demon mist, and charged towards Li Shu hideously. Kill. Kill. A low, hoarse growl rang out. This is the 10 remnant souls hidden in the 10 precepts, waiting for the opportunity to possessing others' body users. So, the person in the ring is not necessarily the grandfather, it may still be the monster that wants to devour you. Li Shu looked at the 10 remnant souls, the corners of his mouth were slightly raised, and his hands were hard. The red magic circle is spinning rapidly. A powerful strangling force erupted. The 10 remnant souls turned into black smoke and dissipated in the screams. Soul destruction curse is a slaughtering magic, and it is considered black magic. In Kamar Taj, almost no one will. Caecilius should have learned it from outside, or from Dormammu. Definitely this type of black magic, without the power of Mephisto or demons, will not work on itself. It's just that the killing is too heavy, and it is classified as a black magic field. The other side. Mandarin looked at the man's means in front of him, and the whole person was horrified. This person actually strangled the remnant soul instantly. How did this person know that he had the 10 precepts, and also knew that there were remnant souls among the 10 precepts? But the other party must not be from Caecilius, because the other party still needs him to continue to collect resources and magic materials for them. It can't be Caecilius. Mandarin feared. Who are you? Why do you know that I have 10 precepts? Are you one of those dragons? As soon as Li Shu thought about it, he put the 10 rings into his wristband, and left a ring incandescent to wear. The incandescence of the ring gives people the ability to release and control extremely high temperature flames. This ring is the best ring to handle Mandarin, turning it straight to ashes. He looked at the gold bars on the table and felt even more happy. This is also a pleasant surprise, getting so many gold bars. It seems to be at least tens of millions or even hundreds of millions of USD. Mandarin looked at Li Shu's eyes and gritted his teeth slightly. Take this golden ring and leave quickly, I will pretend that nothing happened. The reason why he did this was because he felt the fatal danger from the opponent, the kind that could not be overcome. He only has one idea now, that is not to be killed by the other party. As long as he survives, revenge or something, there will be opportunities in the future. However, the hatred he did not show, but was deeply hidden in his heart. Li Shu chuckled and looked at Mandarin. Why do I need your permission to take things? After speaking, he touched the ring and walked towards Mandarin. Mandarin saw Li Shu look at him and put on the incandescent. He instantly understood what the other party wanted to do. He hurriedly said, I have something to do with Caecilius, if you shoot me, he will definitely not let you go. When Li Shu heard this, the corners of his mouth twitched slightly. Caecilius, in the simulation, he has been killed with ease once. And in the first year, after a year of cultivation, he became stronger. Caecilius was no longer a threat to him. Definitely, that doesn't mean he's going to kill Caecilius. After all, Caecilius had his own mission, and that was to kill the Ancient One. Death is Ancient One's wish, and he doesn't want to interrupt other people's choices. Ancient One has been dedicated to the earth for hundreds of years, and it is indeed time for someone else to retire. Besides, if he sabotaged Ancient One's retirement plan, it is estimated that Ancient One would have to find him desperately. Li Shu shrugged. You can't have anything to do with Lao Su, you must die here today. Killing Mandarin, Li Shu is not a burden at all. After all, supervillains are basically all evil guys. Just when Li Shu's hands burst into flames, Mandarin hurriedly said, Wait a minute, I know an important news. I know an extremely valuable news. Don't kill me. Li Shu played with the flame in his hand and said, Tell me, I'll see if your news is of any value. Mandarin hurriedly said, I know the location of an extremely powerful ancient magic book, which is said to be the most powerful ancient magic book in the world, and it contains magic that can subvert the world. As long as you don't kill me, I'll give you its address. When Mandarin speaks, Li Shu uses his own telepathy ability. His telepathy ability has evolved to have the ability to discern other people's emotions. This ability can also be used to identify whether others are lying. When people lie, their emotions will change subtly. When this subtle change occurs, it means that people are lying. There was no such subtle change in Mandarin's mood just now. So the other party is not lying, the other party is telling the truth. Immediately, Li Shu's eyes lit up. The top magic ancient books, with the most powerful magic. Li Shu instantly remembered the Book of Weishan Emperor, which had never been successful in the simulation. The regret in this simulation will not be made up in reality. The Book of Emperor Weishan, but the legendary book that recorded the magic of Emperor Weishan. Who is Emperor Weishan? The top-level touch of the magic department. The existence composed of 3 top-level ancient gods. The status is similar to the existence of God. Ancient One. Thanos and the like are in front of him, that is, the younger brother, Galactus are all taken out and slipped away. If he can get the Book of Emperor Weishan, it will have huge amounts of help to his strength. Li Shu was instantly excited. He continued, Where is the stuff? The other party said a location, but immediately Li Shu's voice became cold. Where is it? Because he recognized that the other party's address was lying. If he guessed correctly, the other party wanted to lead him to Caecilius, so that the other party can solve themselves. Mandarin hurriedly said, I didn't lie. What I said was true. You have to believe me. My life is in your hands, how could I lie? The flame on Li Shu's hand moved towards Mandarin. The fiery temperature made Mandarin feel a tinge of pain. Laugh. The blazing flame scorched Mandarin's skin, causing him to let out an extremely painful cry. Mandarin quickly said a string of new addresses. Through spiritual identification, Li Shu could feel that the other party did not lie this time. Boom. The violent flames instantly enlarged and completely devoured Mandarin. The flames carried extremely high temperatures, and before the other party could scream, it completely turned to ashes. After doing this, Li Shu immediately cast another magic, clearing his traces, so that others could no longer trace him through magic. Unless you take out the magic treasure, the Eye of Agamotto, and see through it. Otherwise, no one would know that he did it. However, it is impossible for Sorcerer Supreme to come to this small place and use the ability of Eye of Agamotto. To be honest, the Eye of Agamotto can see through the future and the illusory ability, and Li Shu is also quite envious. However, it is impossible for Li Shu to touch this thing for the time being. After all, this thing is too involved, and there is a time gem in it. A little wrong, and things may go wrong. But there is another place that holds treasures similar to the Eye of Agamotto. That is the Ball of Agamotto in Odin's treasury, through which Asgard learned about Ragnarok. Pretty much the same except for the lack of the Eye of Agamotto's time manipulation ability. There is no time gem in the ball after all. At that time, if there is a chance, you can take out the Ball of Agamotto from Odin's treasury. In addition, there is a magic treasure in Odin's treasure house, that is, the Eye of the Warlock. It also has the ability to see through delusions, and most importantly, it has amazing power against dark dimensions and dark creatures. This can be taken out. In addition to these two magic treasures, there are several good treasures in the treasure house. The mysterious life stone tablet and the casket of ancient winters on the frozen starry sky are all top treasures. If there is a chance, this Odin treasure trove, he still has to go. Especially after Odin's death, Asgard's defenses are empty, and it's time to try it. Li Shu's thoughts flew for a while, then retracted. Now, it's time for him to go to the address, Mandarin said. If it is really the book of Emperor Weishan, then his trip to the old mountain city is completely worth it. Call out. Li Shu disappeared and ran towards the place, Mandarin said. It won't work for a while. Li Shu appeared in a basement. He immediately activated the perspective ability to scan the entire place. Soon, he stopped. Because there was a small area on the ground that he couldn't see through. It wasn't a lead object, but he couldn't see through it. It was very strange. Li Shu took a breath and walked towards it. Li Shu was a little excited and looking forward to seeing this magical small area. He cast a set of protective magic for himself to avoid encountering some small organs. Lift the floor. A box lay quietly in it. That box is the file size of a book, and obviously, there is a book in it. Li Shu took a light breath and opened the box. A dark hard shell book appeared in front of him. Seeing this book, Li Shu's pupils shrank slightly. Not the book of Emperor Weishan. But it is indeed an ancient magical book that is also extremely powerful and contains powerful and unparalleled magic. But a book with the same name is the Book of Weishandi, but it is completely another extreme magical ancient book, the Book of the Dark Gods. Seeing this book, Li Shu gasped and felt a little scalp numb. He did not expect that he would find such a book. If it is said that the most powerful white magic is hidden in the Book of Weishan Emperor, the main defense is, then the most powerful black magic is hidden in the Dark God's book, which is the main attack. It's just that the Dark God book is more evil and dangerous. The Book of Emperor Weishan, if you read it, you will have countless powerful white magics and the ultimate defense ability. If you read it, you will become stronger. But the Dark God book, once you read this book, your character will be distorted, and your soul will be blackened. Seeing this, Li Shu's mouth twitched slightly. This book is indeed top-notch, but it is impossible for him to read it, at least not now, unless his strength reaches a point where he can resist the distortion in the book. Otherwise he would never have opened the book. Li Shu's mouth twitched a few times. Why is it the Book of Darkness? If it is the Book of Emperor Weishan, it would be great. In that case, he can directly open the study. Li Shu rubbed his head. This Mandarin does not lie, it is indeed a very fraudulent ancient magic book, but he doesn't use it at all now. Li Shu finally knew why the box was able to cut off his sight, because this box was designed to cut off the connection between the Dark God book and the outside world, and it had a powerful isolating power. He instantly covered the Dark God book with the box. He didn't put the Dark God book in its place, because as long as he didn't read it, there would be no problem. For a long time, this thing was guarded by a specific magician, and as long as it was not prying, there was never any problem. After all, this is an existence of the same level as the Book of Emperor Weishan, which records the strongest attack magic. He can't resist the twisted meaning now, which doesn't mean he can't resist it in the future. As long as the strength is strong enough, it can resist the twisted meaning of the dark sacred book, so as to learn the powerful attacking magic. The magic inside is extremely powerful, and it is comparable to the top magic of the true gods of the universe, and its power is not comparable to that of the Odin Ancient One. Once he learns it, his strength will increase by leaps and bounds. After learning this book, Wanda's strength improved by leaps and bounds in the later period, and even slaughtered the top existence Sisorn, which was tied with Weishandi. So this book, Li Shu didn't throw it back. After sealing the dark divine book, Li Shu added several layers of sealing magic to the sealed box, so that the box could not be opened. After doing this, Li Shu put it into the bracelet. Looking at the pile of gold, 9 rings, and the isolated box containing the dark sacred book in the bracelet, Li Shu smiled. This trip to the old mountain city was really rewarding. In particular, the 10 commandments had a greater impact on him now. One ring, called remodeling, can change the structure of matter at the atomic level, change the shape of objects, and release toxic gases. This ring has 2 abilities, an ability that reshapes the shape of matter, such as turning a piece of steel into a sword, and turning a stone into a bowl. But the more complex something is, the more difficult it is to change. He also had a large vibranium in his hand. When the time comes, he can turn the vibranium into the weapon he desires, such as a long sword or spear. For Li Shu, without forging vibranium technology, reshaping works very well. After all, a piece of vibranium is only meaningful when it is turned into equipment, otherwise it is a piece of scrap metal. Another ability also has the ability to release toxic gases. As for the toxicity, Li Shu has never tried it, so I don't know. There is also a ring that acts on atoms and molecules, that is, the ring ghost, which can make people have the ability to cut off the connection between molecules and atoms, and make hard objects break. With this thing, as long as he touches the relevant substance, it can be cracked, or even turned into powder. Harder things break down more slowly, but they have to be very hard. This ability is almost equivalent to the magic skill of attacking, and you will be broken and turned into powder if you touch it. Among the 10 rings, there are also 3 rings about electricity. Ring control, can generate electromagnetic light and impact. Ring spirit, control electricity, generate electromagnetic fields. Ring lightning, also has the ability to control electromagnetic, and can also release lightning. Among them, ring domination is to create electromagnetic light and shockwave to attack others. The ring spirit is to control electricity, generate electromagnetic fields, to control the movement of objects, which belongs to the control ability. Lightning is the release of lightning to attack people, and it can also control electromagnetism, but it can't be as pleasant as the ring spirit. Incandescent light and 0 point, one is to control fire, the other is to control ice. Liars, belonging to mind control, can control the minds of others, can be considered a complement to his telepathy ability. Then there is the ring stun, which can control the airflow and form a vortex, so as to attack or defend, which belongs to the wind ability. The last one is the messenger, which can create a dark area, so that others cannot gain vision, but the user can clearly see everything in the dark area. This is a good skill, and it is a must for knocking a sap. It can be said that the abilities of the 10 commandments are quite complete, including elemental, control, attack, defense, and auxiliary types. Looking at the 10 rings in his hand, Li Shu smiled. The next step is to go to the Skyline Canyon and tame the extraordinary dragon. After all, there is no dragon as a pet, how can it be considered a card? Definitely, in the future, I will have the opportunity to accept the cute orange cat, the primordial devourer, which is more powerful and arrogant, and is one of the most terrifying creatures in the universe. Call out. Li Shu disappeared in place. Rush to the one-line Sky Canyon. Soon, a line of Sky Canyon appeared in front of Li Shu. Relying on the now more powerful perspective ability, Li Shu did not take long to find the extraordinary dragon. A green dragon, as huge as a mountain, perched in the canyon, was sleeping, and the roar purred like thunder. The entire canyon was trembling slightly, and there was not a single animal in it. Outside the canyon, countless animals shivered. Li Shu descended in midair, overlooking the huge dragon below him. Compared with dragon, Li Shu was like a small ant, standing in the air. The arrival of Li Shu instantly awakened dragon. It opened its eyes slowly, and suddenly saw Li Shu. If it is ordinary to see an unfamiliar existence, the extraordinary dragon is estimated to be angry. Just when I saw Li Shu, it didn't have this feeling at all, because Li Shu gave it a very friendly feeling, and it couldn't help but want to get close. Fei Feilong looked at Li Shu, and because of his size, his voice was as loud as thunder, resounding throughout the canyon. You are. Li Shu overlooked the extraordinary dragon, released his powerful biological breath, and said, "Be my mount, and I will help you accomplish what you want to do." At the same time, he also performed the dragon training technique, which has an influence on the extraordinary dragon in Invisible. Today's Li Shu is stronger than Fei Feilong. Facing Li Shu, Fei Feilong did not dare to make trouble. It heard Li Shu's words and remembered what it had lost. It then said, "Can you Can you help me find my lost rings? They were taken by a despicable fellow. Those are the treasures of my clan rebuilding their homeland, and I cannot lose them. Immediately, Fei-Fei-Long described what that person looked like. When Mandarin entered Fei-Fei-Long's spaceship and stole the ring, the spaceship recorded the other party's appearance. It's just that when it wakes up, the other party has fled to the Tianya Navy, and even if the other party looks, it is difficult to find the other party. Li Shu spread out his hand, and there were 10 rings on it. Are these 10 rings? Seeing the ring in Li Shu's hand, Fei-Fei-Long was slightly shocked. This. How could this be here? Li Shu said, I have the ability to see the future, so I know you need this, so I helped you get it back from the thief. Hearing that Li Shu could see through the future, Fei-Fei-Long was slightly surprised. After all, this is the only powerful magician in the universe that has ability. In other words, the person in front of him is an extremely powerful magician. This made the respect in Fei-Hon-Long's heart even deeper. When Fei-Fei-Long heard the thief, he gritted his teeth slightly. After all, this guy stole his most precious thing. Excuse me, what happened to that guy? Li Shu smiled and said, I've made him disappear. Fei-Fei-Long said gratefully, thank you. For a strong man like Li Shu, and he also helped him retrieve the 10 precepts, the most important thing is that the other party makes him want to get close, and the extraordinary dragon no longer has more hesitation. It lowered its head slightly. Sir, I am willing to be your mount. With the sublime dragon's convincing, his dragon training technique progressed smoothly. Next moment, the forehead of the extraordinary dragon burst into a golden light, like a golden flower bud blooming. Between one person and one dragon, a subtle connection was established. Especially Li Shu can feel the emotions of the extraordinary dragon. This perception does not consume his mental power. Finally, subdued the extraordinary dragon. With a wave of his hand, a gust of wind lifted the 10 commandments and sent them to Fei-Fei-Long. A very basic wind magic. The 10 precepts were handed over to Fei-Fei-Long for preservation. If he wants to use it, let the extraordinary dragon give it to him. Seeing the 10 precepts in front of him, Fei-Fei-Long shook his head. Master, I'll leave the 10 precepts to you to keep. It's safer to have with you than with me, and I don't want to lose them again. If I want to rebuild my home at that time, I can let the master give it to me at that time. Hearing this, Li Shu didn't say much. Immediately with a wave of his hand, the 10 rings returned to his hand, and he was immediately put into the bracelet. Li Shu said with a smile, let's go, then you can go with me to the human society. But you can't do it like this, it will cause a commotion in the human world. Change your appearance and become a golden retriever. At that time, there is a golden retriever in the left hand and an orange cat in the right hand, which will be interesting to think about. Hearing Li Shu's words, Fei-Fei-Long thought for a moment, and then his huge body shrank rapidly. It quickly turned into a golden retriever, and flew to Li Shu, rubbing Li Shu's leg lovingly. Li Shu rubbed golden retriever's head and said, you can be called Xiaolong from now on. The golden retriever let out a dragon roar. Li Shu couldn't help laughing. If the shape has changed, the body must also change, otherwise it won't work. The golden retriever snorted. Golden retriever used telepathy to communicate with Li Shu. Master, where are we going now? Li Shu looked at Newtown's location, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Go get a piece of clothing. In a house. Caecilius was here with all his men, with a map in front of him. He pointed to a position above and said, we need to go to Holy Place in New York City, get some magic materials, and then form our summoning formation together with the magic materials sent by Mandarin. This time we headed to Holy Place, New City. We had to make a quick decision and not delay. Otherwise the Ancient One will come, and then we will be in trouble. Understand? All the men nodded. After finishing speaking, Caecilius began to explain the structure of the entire holy place, as well as related matters needing attention. Unbeknownst to Caecilius, Mandarin was no longer able to send him supplies. This person has completely disappeared. Unbeknownst to Caecilius, his path was nearly blocked by a stranger. Inside Holy Place, New York. Guardian magician with dark circles under his eyes, yawning and holding a cup of coffee. Beside him is the fatty king. Wang looked at the guardian magician and smiled. What's going on? You did something bad last night. The guardian magician gave a wry smile and shook his head. I didn't know what happened yesterday, but I felt a little nervous, as if something was going to happen, as if something was about to be stolen. I got up in the middle of the night and looked at Holy Place, but nothing happened. But in the middle of the night, I didn't sleep much. Hearing this, Wang smiled and said, It seems that you have to go out for a walk. Stay here every day. People are about to get sick. You are too housebound. Guardian Magician shrugged. It's nice here, quiet and comfortable. While the two were chatting, suddenly the door was knocked open. The eyes of the two people looked over in an instant. I saw a very young and handsome boy standing there with a golden retriever beside him. However, when they saw the golden hair, they both felt a trace of horror in their hearts, as if they were facing some powerful wild beast. Looking at the boy again, he looked peaceful and looked like an ordinary person. But the two of them understood that with such a strange golden retriever by their side, it was definitely impossible for them to be ordinary people. Wang looked at the golden retriever, and he felt a familiar aura on the other side. The guardian magician put down the coffee, with a hint of vigilance in his eyes. Who are you? Did you come to our holy place for something? Li Shu said with a smile. I have long admired holy place in New York City, and I have always visited it, and I am also a magician. Saying that, he cast the red ring of Ragador. A small golden shield appeared in front of his hand. Seeing this hand of white magic, the two of them relaxed a little. But immediately felt that something was wrong, and then the two opened their eyes wide, and their eyes were full of shock. Wang stammered. Why don't you have any trace of legal debt on your body? Legal debt, that is, after magician borrows Beelzebub's power, it will leave a special trace of debt. Then Mephisto will take away from you the price you should pay based on this debt trace, which belongs to the law of cause and effect. As long as you have borrowed Beelzebub's power, you should have traces of legal debt on your body. But they did not feel any trace of legal debt from Li Shu. The guardian magician was also horrified. You just used magic, using your own mana? They generally use white magic, and they all borrow power from Waishandi, and borrow power from it, and the cost is generally relatively small. Especially small magic, almost nothing. So, even small magic, they will borrow external force. They rarely see anyone using magic, using their own mana. In other words, the guy in front of him is a guy who never borrows Beelzebub's power, but only uses his own mana. They had never heard of such a person, so much so that they were too appalled. They know there's a guy who never uses outside force, and that's Loki. This guy doesn't borrow power, because the other party is not a human, but a long-lived Protoss, who can accumulate mana with water, while short-lived humans don't have such a long time to accumulate. Again, because no external force is used, Loki's spells are all small magics, and their power is generally not very large. Compared with powerful human magicians, they are not worth mentioning at all. Therefore, in the human magician, there has never been a magician without external force. The guy in front of them broke their cognition. Li Shu said with a smile, because I never borrow external forces, I have no legal debts. Hearing this, the corners of their mouths twitched. Without Beelzebub's power, as this magician? Their heads were full of question marks. Just at this time, there was a sudden flash of light in Wang Neogwa, and he took a deep breath. He stared at Li Shu and said, You golden retriever, isn't it a dragon? He finally remembered why he felt the other person's breath familiar. He remembered the breath of those dragons when he went to the Eastern Kunlun. Those rare beings that are extremely powerful beyond human beings. The breath emanating from this golden retriever is the breath of a dragon. Hearing this, the guardian magician next to him also widened his eyes. Dragon? The golden retriever beside this young man turned out to be a dragon, which shocked the guardian magician. After all, dragons are extremely rare and powerful beings. Even he had never seen such a creature in his life. Moreover, the dragon is arrogant by nature. He did not expect that there will be a dragon here, and it will turn into a dog and follow a boy's side. Li Shu smiled softly. I didn't expect that you would be able to recognize Xiaolong's identity. Then, he patted the golden retriever's head. My golden retriever is indeed a dragon. The golden hair burst out for a while, grinning smugly. It also did not expect the other party to recognize its identity. In its view, the other party still has some eyesight. Thinking of this, Jin Mao raised his head. With the sound of dragon ang, a faint dragon's might appeared. Feeling the dangerous and powerful aura, both of them felt a chill on their backs. They looked at Li Shu again, with a hint of awe in their eyes, but with a bit of complexity at the same time. After all, being able to conquer a dragon is undoubtedly an extremely powerful existence. But this powerful being is a magician who doesn't borrow Beelzebub's power. Human magicians who do not rely on Beelzebub's power and only rely on mana are all trash. This is an established fact in the magic circle. An odd presence. This is the view of the two of them. After the impact of the incident just now, the strangeness between the two sides has also been reduced. In addition, the other party is also magician, which makes the two of them feel a little closer. The guardian magician smiled heartily. Visit my holy place in New York. Then I will show you a good look. As one of the 3 major magical holy places in the world, I am very charming. Having said this, the guardian magician showed a hint of pride and smugness on his face. After all, this is the guard magician here, and this is his home. It is natural to be a little happy to hear that others have come here. Wang smiled and said, as an office place, holy place in New City is mainly used to counteract the dimensional invasion, so few people come. I didn't expect that today. Besides me as a guest, there will be you and your jinn. Xiaolong, ha ha ha. Wang said with a smile. As a top holy place, it is full of history, it is a museum, and you can see a lot of legendary things here. The guardian magician laughed and said, indeed, you can even see most of the Sorcerer Supreme's levitating cloaks with magical implements. Having said that, the guardian magician began to take Li Shu to visit the entire holy place, and the whole person was still a little interested. Right now, he has no idea what will happen next. Soon. So we came to the purpose of Li Shu's trip. Inside a glass cover, hung a red suspended cloak. The guardian magician smiled strongly. You see this cloak now. It is the floating cloak worn by the legendary Sorcerer Supreme for many generations. It is an ancient artifact and is the treasure of our holy place. Speaking of this, his mood was higher, and his voice was slightly raised. It can give the wearer the ability to float and flight, which is more effective and faster than using the flight spell. It can also be attached to others or objects for floating and flight. The levitation cloak is nearly indestructible, and it can also be used as a shield, providing the wearer with resistance to physical and magical attacks. It can also be used as a weapon to attack or capture opponents. It can move according to the master's will and participate in battles. It is the best weapon in attack. In addition, users can use spells to change its appearance, such as suits, capes and other clothing. The suspension cloak can also shrink and extend infinitely. It is said that the suspension cloak once covered the entire galaxy, which is very terrifying. The owner can summon and control it remotely and even across latitudes. Even if you are in other universes, it can find you across space. This is an unparalleled magic weapon, and it is the best among magic tools. He smiled and said, before, it traveled the universe with the Ancient One magician, but after the Ancient One magician came back, it was linked back to Holy Place in New York City. Leave it to those who are destined, and to those who are qualified and really need it, that is, the next Sorcerer Supreme. Li Shu listened and sighed. It's an unparalleled treasure. When the guardian magician heard Li Shu's admiration, the smile on his face became even bigger. Li Shu asked, this. Can I touch it? Guardian magician said cheerfully, definitely yes. Hearing the words of the guardian magician, the smile on Li Shu's face became even wider. He smiled and said, I feel like I have a relationship with this cloak. The guardian magician and Wang almost fell over when they heard it. Dude, if you don't agree, you're going to say you're the future Sorcerer Supreme, right? He is obviously a guy with basically no legal debts and no magical combat power, yet he still feels that he is related to the floating cloak. The guardian magician and Wang are both dumbfounded. The guardian magician couldn't help laughing. Hugh, this cloak really has no fate with you. You are not from the same world. After all, you can only count as half a magician. Maybe you are very powerful in other aspects, but you really lack a little bit of magic, and you can only count as half a magician. The suspension cloak belongs to the supreme magic weapon, and it will only choose the extremely powerful magician, or the magic wizard, or even the top wizard with the mysterious magician ability. Ha ha ha, Hugh, you really have no fate with it. The guardian magician opened the glass case while smiling. Li Shu touched the levitating cloak and activated his own cracking ability at the same time. In the simulation, he has already cracked the invasion once, and this memory has also been preserved. Therefore, as for the suspension of the suspension cloak, he was very familiar with it this time, and it was very smooth to crack it, and it was about to fly. The king next to him also said with a smile, you may really not understand our magic world. This kind of spiritual instrument only chooses the powerful magician. Even if you are powerful, if you are not magician, this top artifact will not follow you. The guardian magician next to him also nodded with a smile. Li Shu withdrew his hand and said with a chuckle, really? But I really feel that I have a relationship with it, as if we met at first sight. You said yes, Xiao Peng. Seeing Li Shu shouting the floating cloak, the guardian magician and Wang both laughed. The guardian magician smiled and said, "No matter how kindly you call it, it won't answer." The words were not finished, and the next scene stopped it abruptly. "Call out." The suspended cloak flew out directly from the inside. He flew to Li Shu's side, and then rubbed Li Shu's face kindly. When it stopped abruptly, in addition to guarding the magician's words, there were also smiles on his and Wang's faces. The smile gradually solidified, and the eyes gradually became dull. Holy Place, which was full of laughter, suddenly fell silent. Seeing the expressions of the two, Golden Retriever grinned, and the smile was a little brighter. After the suspension cloak finished rubbing against Li Shu, it happily walked around Li Shu for a few times, and then hung it on Li Shu's shoulder. The two corners of the collar are like two celebratory hands, bending first and then straightening up happily. It seems like an invisible roar sounded, as if to celebrate finding a good owner. This spiritual scene made the guardian magician and the king's chin almost fall to the ground. What happened? The guardian magician and Wang looked at each other, and both could see shock and intense puzzlement in each other's eyes. Why would a hovering cloak choose a half-ass magician? This is a floating cloak, one of the most powerful treasures of the supreme magic weapon. This is a magician thing. How can you choose a person who is basically not a magician? How so? Both the guardian magician and the king could see the breakdown in each other's eyes. It's cracked, brother. Me too, bro. Li Shu touched the cloak and said with a smile, "It seems that I feel right. I really have a relationship with it." Looking at the expressions of the two, the smile on the golden retriever's face became even wider. It said that it was really cool to eat melons. The guardian magician scratched his hair and said in disbelief, "This. How could this be? You are obviously not a magician. Why did it choose you?" Hearing this, Li Shu said with a smile, "Why am I not a magician? I just don't use external force. I can use all kinds of spells anyway." Guardian magician. Can. Li Shu patted the other party's shoulder. "Okay, let's continue to visit. It's really unclear when it comes to things like fate." After speaking, Li Shu continued to walk forward, admiring other things. The guardian magician looked at the cloak on Li Shu's back, and at the empty glass cover in front of him, with a sad face. The treasure of his town is just gone. He just showed people around his holy place. Why did he lose something? Ancient One magician put the cloak here, just to leave it to someone who is destined. Although the guardian magician knows that one day the cloak will fly out and fly to the person who is destined. But what he never expected was that this destined person was so outrageous, a guy with almost no magical combat power. Wang looked at the guardian magician, and the corners of his mouth twitched. Also, maybe this guy is a real magic wizard with great potential to become the sorcerer supreme, so the cloak will choose the other parties. Guard the magician. A person who never borrows the power of gods and demons can become a great magician, a sorcerer supreme. Seeing Li Shu walk a little further, the two quickly followed. It's just that the smiles on their faces are less, and there is more reluctance. Li Shu and Golden Retriever had even more smiles on their faces. The two form a stark contrast, while a few people were chatting. Boom. The door downstairs was blasted open. The visitor was obviously a little unkind. Hearing this voice, both of them were shocked. Li Shu glanced slightly and saw the person coming out below. He was slightly taken aback. Unexpectedly still an old acquaintance, Caecilius. Just killed someone else's supplier. I didn't expect to meet here, it's really fate. Look like this, ready to grab something. Li Shu instantly revealed a smile. This guy is really unlucky, he met himself here, and he just took the benefits of others. It seems that today is destined to be a bad day for this guy. The guardian magician shouted. Who? Ran into holy place. When the guardian magician and Wang Zheng were about to go down and have a look, a group of people rushed up. Seeing the people rushing up, guardian magician and Wang Jia were shocked. The guardian magician's startled roar, Caecilius. Wang widened his eyes. Damn it, how could it be you? Both eyes were full of fear. After all, Caecilius is a magical genius, and Ancient One used to value him very much, but in the end, in pursuit of immortality, this guy killed the magician in the library, stole dark magic, and betrayed Kamar Taj. As a genius, Caecilius is undoubtedly strong. Caecilius looked at the two of them and smiled. I don't have time to pay attention to you today, and the next time we meet, it will be your death. Holy place is in the dimension node. If you want to release Dormammu, it is best to be in this kind of place, so Caecilius will come back next time, but next time, he will kill the guardian magician and make the node lose its defense. Caecilius waved. A few people went up to stop them, and the rest took things. Suddenly, he saw Li Shu behind the guardian magician. He had never seen it before, but the other party gave him a very disgusting feeling, as if he was someone who was overcome by heaven. Caecilius gave each other a stern look, but he didn't bother, because it was important to do business. Just at this time, Li Shu waved his hand lightly. Moment. It began to expand wildly in place and flipped up. Dimensional mirroring. Open. This hand directly shocked everyone present. No one would have imagined that such a young boy would actually control this extremely difficult magic dimensional mirror. After all, among the people present, only Caecilius mastered it. The most shocking thing is to protect the magician and the king. After all, in their eyes, this is a half-baked magician. The result is that such a half-baked magician has mastered such a difficult magic of dimensional mirror. The main thing is that the other party is still so young. And they clearly felt that when the boy next to him was using this magic, he was consuming his own mana. This guy actually used his own mana to expand the dimensional mirror. If you want to expand the dimensional mirror with mana, you must have extremely fine mana control, even to the point of terror, otherwise, the dimensional mirror will absorb too much mana and super expand. Excessive expansion will instantly absorb the pitiful mana of the human magician. Without the mana, the dimensional mirror will be broken in an instant. Therefore, even if the geniuses of Dimension Mirror want to expand with mana, it is almost impossible, because they will not have such subtle mana operations. He usually borrows other people's mana uncontrollably, so how can he control the mana finely? It's like a person who is used to spending money lavishly, how can he spend it carefully? As a magical genius, Caecilius has a very keen perception of magic. He immediately discovered the abnormality of the other party's magic. Rely on your own mana. Caecilius sucked in a breath. Who are you? You actually used your own mana to expand the dimensional mirror image. His pupils shrank. There is no trace at all, you have never borrowed Beelzebub's power. How can there be such a bizarre magician in this world? Li Shu smiled calmly. Do you want to move holy place, do you have my permission? After speaking, he raised a hand, and a ring appeared on it at some point. Ring wizard, control electromagnetism, create electromagnetic field. Sizzle. Above the ring, strands of electric arc jumped up. Next moment. As if a tree of lightning blossomed from above, like countless branches extending in all directions. An invisible force burst out in an instant, covering everyone. Afterwards, Caecilius and others felt that the surrounding air was like cement and was very viscous, making it difficult for them to move. The strong electromagnetic field restrained the actions of Caecilius et al. Li Shu smiled and said, "Go, Xiaolong." Then the other party saw the unobtrusive golden retriever jumping out. Just when they felt uneasy and doubtful, a scene that shocked and terrified everyone appeared. A thunderous dragon roar sounded. The golden retriever quickly grew bigger and turned into a terrifying dragon that covered the sky and ferocious. Compared with dragon, the other party is like a few small ants. Dragon flew towards the enemy, with unimaginable ferocity and extreme oppression. See this scene. The faces of the other party turned pale, and they shouted, "Dragon! Dragon! Damn it! This golden retriever is actually a dragon? How? How can a dragon become a dog beside a man?" These people looked at the ferocious dragon, and their hearts were split. No one on the other side thought that the ordinary golden retriever beside this young man was actually a dragon that covered the sky. They really couldn't understand how a young man could have a dragon beside him. After all, a dragon can be a very arrogant creature, but the dragon was willing to turn into a dog to follow the boy, which was beyond their imagination. Caecilius's face paled, and he looked at the genially smiling teenager in disbelief. He really didn't understand who the other party was. Casting magic does not use external force, but only uses his own poor mana. However, with that poor mana, the other party released high-level magic, mirror dimension, which simply shattered the magician's cognition. Besides, the golden retriever beside this guy is actually a real dragon. When a person feeds a powerful creature like a dragon, how much does the other person get? Suddenly, he saw a touch of red in the corner of his eyes. Then his pupils shrank like needles. Suspended cape? The suspension cloak also recognizes him as the master? Is this guy still the future sorcerer supreme? Caecilius felt a turbulent sea in his heart, and this unknown guy who suddenly appeared was too amazing. Who the hell is this guy? At this moment, this young man made him tremble with endless horror and soul, and it was from the fear of the unknown. Dragon is like a mountain, with a ferocious face, full of oppression, and the person on the other side is almost scared. On Li Shu's side, the guardian magician and Wang Rao knew that dragon was on their side, but they still felt chills down their spines. Because that dragon is too amazing, too huge. Caecilius gritted his teeth slightly and growled, "Retreat." A portal appeared one by one. Caecilius escaped with a few lucky men. Others, without opening the portal at all, turned into dragon food. Definitely, Caecilius was able to escape, mainly because Li Shu released the water. Caecilius can't die yet, and has a mission to complete. As long as Caecilius completes the task, it will be gone. After devouring a few people, Dragon quickly shrank, turned back to Golden Retriever, and ran towards Li Shu, looking very happy. Li Shu waved his hand gently, the entire mirror world quickly shrank and disappeared, and several people appeared in Holy Place again. Looking at this golden hair, the guardian magician and Wang both swallowed a mouthful of saliva. This seemingly harmless little pet is amazing. But immediately, the guardian magician expressed his gratitude to Li Shu. "Thank you, Hugh, without you. These guys will definitely take something from Holy Place, and we can't stop it at all." Li Shu waved his hand with a smile. "No thanks, it's a great effort. Hands up. But it does look easy." The two laughed bitterly. Dealing with Caecilius was just a matter of hand, and the strength of the young man in front of them seemed to be beyond their imagination. Think about that hand, dimensional mirror, just now. They suddenly understood a little why the suspension cloak would choose each other. With the suspension cloak in hand, Li Shu's mission was completed. He didn't go any further. Guarding the magician's side, because of the attack, I didn't have much mood to take Li Shu around. So after a while, Li Shu left here with the Golden Retriever. In a wood. After Caecilius and others escaped from Holy Place, they slumped on the ground. Everyone was in shock. Especially Caecilius. Li Shu's face filled his mind like a nightmare. He clenched his fists. Damn, who is this guy? How can there be such a bizarre guy in this world? The rest of his subordinates, thinking of Li Shu, all fought a cold war. In their eyes, Li Shu is simply a mysterious big boss, who controls high-level magic at a young age and leads a dog that is a dragon. Li Shu cast a strong shadow on Caecilius, even more so than his former teacher, Ancient One, so much that Caecilius decided not to provoke Li Shu. When he summoned Lord Dormammu, let Lord Dormammu deal with this guy. "Boss, we haven't got a single magic material," the person next to him said weakly. Hearing this, Caecilius's forehead burst into blue veins. Damn. These magic materials are all used to summon Lord Dormammu. If they can't gather the magic materials, they will not be able to let Dormammu descend. Caecilius clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. "Contact Mandarin. Let him help us gather more magic materials. In exchange, I will help him do something." After a while, the subordinate said, "Then. There is no contact there, boss." Caecilius felt a tinge of unease. He frowned and hurriedly denied. "There will definitely be no problem over there. That guy has 10 precepts in his hands to save his life." Although he denied it with his mouth, his unease grew stronger in his heart. Scared Caecilius hurriedly said, "Go. Immediately go to the old mountain city and find Mandarin." The guardian magician and the king also rushed back to Kamar Taj and reported the matter to the Ancient One. Afterwards, the guardian magician asked about the suspension cloak. Ancient One just means that the magic weapon is originally for people who are destined, and whoever chooses to go with the magic weapon, then the magic weapon belongs to whom, and no one else can stop it. Even her former user. Ancient One then gave orders to everyone to look for Caecilius, and then she would personally take action and draw a full stop. Everyone was overjoyed when they heard this. They all thought that the Ancient One wanted to write a sentence on Caecilius's life. It's just that they never thought that Ancient One was going to draw a sentence for himself. Shortly after, the Kamar Taj magicians knew that the suspension cloak, one of the supreme instruments, had chosen the master, but they did not know who it was, because Wang and others did not disclose it. This incident shocked the entire magic world. The supreme magic weapon that has always only followed the Sorcerer Supreme has chosen its master. Does this mean that a new Sorcerer Supreme will be born in the future? A more powerful magician emerges to take the Ancient One's place? In addition, Caecilius brought people into Holy Place in New York City, and was easily repelled by this mysterious magician, which caused even more sensation. The power of this mysterious magician is evident by being able to easily repel a magical genius such as Caecilius, a master of magic. There has been speculation throughout the wizarding world that a new sorcerer supreme may be on the rise. Hear these words. The guardian magician and Wang just laughed. After all, in their opinion, Li Shu could never become the sorcerer supreme. Because the other side's way is wrong. Although through the ages, the suspension cloak has only followed the supreme magic weapon, but they feel that there will always be exceptions. Horses stumble, people stumble, and the cloak misses the eye. It may also happen. Moreover, in their opinion, the Ancient One is the most powerful, and Li Shu could not be stronger than the Ancient One. So as long as Ancient One is alive, she must be the Sorcerer Supreme. Without exception, there is simply no way a new Sorcerer Supreme will appear. Li Shu took the golden retriever back to his own flat. He slumped on the huge amounts of the sofa with a smile on the corner of his mouth. His set is really huge. The top-level Divine Book, the Dark Divine Book, the Supreme Magic Weapon Suspension Cloak, the 10 precepts with comprehensive and powerful functions, a real dragon, and 100 million points of gold. It can be said that this time he was comfortable. The next step is to create a gravity room, and crack the Meow Hammer and the Destroyer Armor. The Destroyer Armor, in the movie, was finally destroyed by Thor. But Li Shu understands that it must not be destroyed by Thor. After all, the Destroyer Armor can be made of Ulu Gold, which is a top metal, and even surpasses vibranium after enchantment. And the Destroyer Armor is the ultimate weapon made by Odin, and it is an extremely powerful weapon. How could such a thing be destroyed by Thor, who was still weak in the early stage? Even if Thor becomes stronger and his strength changes qualitatively, he has not reached the point of destroying Ulu Shenjin. So the Destroyer Armor here is at most scattered by Thor. Definitely, logically speaking, as the guardian of the treasure house, Odin's big killer, with the strength of the Destroyer's armor, it is impossible for the current Thor to win. The reason why Thor finally broke up the Destroyer Warframe is because this thing was originally used by Odin to sharpen Thor, and it didn't unlock much power at all. After all, he exiled Thor to the world just to sharpen his son, to make him into a weapon, but he didn't really want to kill his own son. Plus it's the half-hearted Loki in control, and it's even weaker. That's why there is a situation where it is broken up by Thor's hammer. Next he binds the Destroyer Armor, and when Odin is dead, this incomparably powerful thing is his. Thinking of this, Li Shu smiled again. As for the gravity room, it's definitely impossible for him to enjoy it alone. He looked aside. The golden retriever was lying on Shaw hair, watching TV with relish. Looking at the golden retriever, Li Shu showed a smile. Dragons' potential is still huge amounts of. However, dragons are generally very lazy creatures, relying on their unique abilities. They can increase their strength by eating and sleeping and eating. As a result, their potential has not been fully exploited. Now, he has a gravity room. Powerful gravity coupled with painful training methods can greatly exercise the extraordinary dragon, vigorously tap the potential of the extraordinary dragon, and make its strength achieve a qualitative leap. Seeing Li Shu's smile, Golden Retriever also responded with a grin and smiled. It didn't realize that its life would undergo earth-shaking changes next, and endless pain and tears were rushing towards it. Just at this time, Li Shu's stomach growled. The Golden Retriever hurriedly jumped off the sofa and said, "Master, I have the ability to make food, so I will prepare food for you." After finishing speaking, it changed back to the dragon body, but its size is only the file size of a human, that it is suitable for cooking. It ran into the kitchen and started to fiddle. At this time, Li Shu remembered that Fifanlong was also a part-time cook in the comics, but he didn't expect that the other party would get food so early. Just at this time, Li Shu's cell phone rang, and he connected the call. Gwen's voice came from there. Early morning. Chief George came out of the house and got into the deputy's car, ready to investigate a case. At this time, Gwen trotted out of the house, shouting to Chief George, "Dad, can you give me some money?" George listened with a fatherly smile. "What's the matter, baby girl? How much do you want? Are you going on a date?" Gwen was a little shy. No, I'm just going to invite people to dinner. We haven't established a relationship yet." George took out several $100 bills from his wallet and gave them to his daughter. He laughed loudly and said, "Eat all you want. Your mom still gave your dad a lot of pocket money if it wasn't enough." When the deputy next to him heard the word pocket money, he sneered, which was evident from the family brotherhood. Gwen got the money, smiled sweetly, and hugged his dad. "Thank you, Dad." George fondled his daughter's head, then let the deputy drive away. The deputy in the car said, "Ha ha ha. This is the first time I have seen your princess dating a boy after so many years." If she doesn't date guys anymore, I think your family likes girls. George feigned anger. Your family only likes girls. George immediately showed a satisfied smile. I am relieved to see that she finally has someone she likes. As long as my daughter likes ears, I will support her. The deputy said. By the way, that kid Li Shu caught another super criminal last time. This kid, he is using the criminal as a swipe card. George listened and said, this kid really has something. The deputy also nodded. By the way, I remember that kid is also from your princess school. Hearing this, George was slightly taken aback, touched his chin and said, next time I have to tell Gwen to pay attention, stay away from this bastard when you were at school. Gwen's crisp voice came from the phone. Do you want to talk to me? Hearing this, Li Shu was slightly stunned. What's going on here? Li Shu then said, what's the matter, Gwen? Hearing Li Shu's voice and tone were normal, Gwen breathed a sigh of relief. Gwen said, have you been having any trouble lately? Taking time off every day? Are you out of money, so you are trying to make money? If you are out of money, I can give it to you. I have saved a lot of money, and you can spend the last year. When you go to college, you can rest assured to work and study. If you don't have money to eat, I'll buy you an extra meal so you won't be hungry. Gwen knew that Li Shu was an orphan and had been working and studying hard. I saw that Li Shu didn't come recently, and I thought the other party was out of money, so I went to make money. In Gwen's view, college is very necessary, so she still hopes that Li Shu can finish reading with peace of mind in the last year. Hearing Gwen's concern, Li Shu felt a little warmer and liked Gwen even more. After getting along for this period of time, although the two have not pierced the last layer of paper, they are actually boyfriend and girlfriend. He couldn't help but think of Gwen's heartbreak and Gwen's death during the simulation. The other party is really good to him. He decided to accompany Gwen first. Such a good girl, I must repay her well today. As soon as he rolled his eyes, his voice dropped immediately. Actually, I really don't have much money recently, and I'm almost running out of food. Can you treat me to a meal, Gwen? I want to have a 10 yuan malatang. Hearing Li Shu's words, Gwen immediately said, okay, I'll treat you to eat. But what is malatang? I've never heard of it. Li Shu said with a smile, it's an oriental food, good and cheap. Gwen nodded slightly. Okay, then I'll find you, and then we go to eat malatang. The two then hung up the phone. Li Shu shouted to the extraordinary dragon in the kitchen. By the way, I'll go out to eat in a while. Don't make it. You solve your own food. Fei Feilong nodded quickly and said, okay. But soon Fei Feilong said, Master, your food is not enough for me, too little. His family has a steak of the weight of a whole cow. But when he thought of the size of the other party, he was relieved. Li Shu said, I'll open a portal for you, go out to hunt by yourself, and then I'll let you back. Fei Feilong hurriedly ran towards Li Shu. Li Shu opened a portal and sent Fei Feilong back to the one-line Sky Canyon. After doing this, Li Shu left the house and ran towards the place agreed by the two. Soon, Li Shu came to the agreed place, which is Chinatown. At the entrance to Chinatown, Gwen was already standing there, 2 ice creams in hand. There are denim overalls on the outside, a white t-shirt on the inside, snow-white sneakers, and a beautiful face, full of youthful atmosphere. Even wearing overalls, it is difficult to hide Gwen's shocking figure, which is really Angel's face and Devil's figure. Seeing Li Shu, Gwen's eyes lit up, and he trotted up immediately, looking at Li Shu with bright eyes, unable to hide his liking. Li Shu's face was reflected in the clear blue eyes. Others can see that the love and happiness in the girl's eyes are overflowing. Gwen smiled sweetly. Here, ice cream, sweet and cool, is best for summer. She also added in her mind that eating ice cream with her favorite person in summer is the most appropriate. Li Shu took Gwen and handed over the ice cream. It looks good. Gwen giggled. I choose the best ice cream. Li Shu said, really? Gwen nodded proudly. Li Shu immediately buried his head and took a bite, but it was Gwen who took the bite. He smiled and said, it's really delicious. Gwen was ashamed and pretended to be angry. I bought it for you, but you still eat mine. Li Shu wrapped her arms around Gwen's neck, and then started at her ice cream. Because the ice cream in your hand is the best. Gwen blushed even more when she heard this, but she felt like she had eaten honey. At the same time, being embraced by Li Shu and smelling Li Shu's body made Gwen feel a little dizzy. Gwen immediately snorted again, pretending to be angry, then I'll eat your ice cream too. Saying that, he took a bite on Li Shu's ice cream. Big bite. Really sweet and sweet too. Gwen's eyes lit up suddenly, and there was a circle of ice cream on his mouth, looking a little cute. Immediately, she hummed proudly. If you take 2 bites of me, I will eat 3 bites of your ice cream in 1 bite. A few smears of ice cream remained on the lips of Duzui, which looked a little charming. From Li Shu's point of view, Gwen's appearance at the moment is particularly heartwarming. The innocent and romantic girl accompanied by the splendid summer and the cold ice cream made his heart throb inexplicably, and he felt that his youth seemed to be awakening. There was a hint of narrowness in his eyes, and he said, "Then I can't suffer." Saying that, he kissed the mouth of the girl who still had ice cream left. The kiss came unexpectedly. Gwen's amber eyes widened, and his head went blank. But what followed was a brain-filled joy, like the ultimate joy of seeing ice water in a hot summer. After a while, Li Shu withdrew the action. Gwen rushed into Li Shu's arms at once, buried his head in Li Shu's arms, his ears were already red. "Hugh. I really like you," she shouted. "Hugh, hang out with me." Li Shu hugged Gwen and said softly, "Okay." Gwen raised his head, and there was a little tear in his eyes, full of joy. She stood on tiptoe and kissed Li Shu. The two kissed for a long time, seeming to have forgotten the time. After a long time, the two were separated, and Gwen's little face was even more crimson and charming, like a full peach. Gwen looked at Li Shu's face and smiled stupidly. At the same time, she also hugged Li Shu tighter, as if afraid that Li Shu would suddenly run away. Li Shu also hugged Gwen in his arms, and a faint but very good smell of virginity flowed into his nose. Xiangyu in her arms is even more heartwarming. Li Shu smiled and said, "How long do you want to hold me?" Gwen snorted and said proudly, "I want to hold it all the time, no matter how I hold it, I won't get tired of it." Li Shu laughed and rubbed Gwen's head. Gwen is actually quite tall, 1.73 meters tall, slender and hot. However, Li is now taller, 1.85 meters, and has a strong body, so Gwen looks a little petite in front of him. Just at this time, Li Shu's stomach grumbled. Gwen then remembered that Li Shu hadn't eaten yet. There was a trace of embarrassment on her face, and she giggled immediately. "Let's go, I'll take you to eat sheep malatang." As she said that, she took Li Shu's hand and walked into Chinatown, which was very natural. Li Shu teased, "It turns out that you were playing against me with this idea." There was a hint of doubt on Gwen's little face. What? Li Shu chose to tell her about the $6 malatang. In an instant, Gwen's little face turned even redder, almost dripping with water. She immediately pretended to be calm and raised her snow-white chin. "Who is paying attention, I won't say, hum." But in the end, the two didn't go to eat malatang, because Gwen really can't be spicy. Besides, Li Shu didn't want the two of them to eat something too heavy. In the end, Li Shu brought Gwen to Cantonese cuisine, which was light and sweet, which was in line with Gwen's taste. Gwen drank the sweet porridge, his eyes slightly brightened. "This is really delicious." Li Shu said with a smile, "Eat more if it's delicious." Then Li Shu also started to eat. 1 bowl and 2 bowls. 7 bowls and 8 bowls. Gwen was slightly taken aback. Immediately, she smiled brightly and said, "Eat more and eat more, I will pay." Gwen at the moment didn't know what was going to happen next. She only knows that she has the lover's meal, full of confidence. After all, her father gave her several hundred yuan. Li Shu's momentum has not stopped. 10 bowls and 20 bowls. Gwen swallowed a mouthful of saliva and said dumbly, "Hugh, your appetite is really not bad." 30 bowls and 40 bowls. Li Shu was finally full. He patted his belly with satisfaction. Look at Gwen again. The other party's face was pale, and there was a trace of panic on his face. She had no idea that a person could eat so much. Totally scared her. She squeezed out a forced smile. "Hugh, you eat a lot." She looked at her purse, and her brows were a little gloomy. She looked up at Li Shu, with an embarrassed expression on her face. "If I take back what I said before, the money I saved may not be enough for you to eat until next year." Immediately, she rubbed her face. "It seems that I have to work and study part-time before I can support your stomach." Saying that, Gwen's little face had a gloomy cloud. "Dear, how can you eat so much? How can our family support your stomach in the future?" Looking at Gwen's sad little face, Li Shu laughed heartily. He stretched out his hand, rubbed Gwen's little face, and said narrowly, "Why did you lose confidence so quickly? Didn't you promise that you can definitely support me?" Gwen said sadly, "I thought you would eat 2 or 3 times as much as mine, but I didn't expect." You don't behave like a human. Li Shu. Don't be human. Can be okay. Li Shu was dumbfounded. This guy, where did you learn these words? Saying that, Gwen sighed. If we have children in the future, I'm afraid we will have to suffer for them. After all, they will be eaten by you. Then we should not have children. Otherwise, you won't get enough to eat, and neither will the child. Li Shu couldn't help laughing and laughing. This brain circuit also leapt too fast. Immediately, he looked at Gwen and made a serious judgment. Comrade Gwen, you have to believe in your strength. You will definitely not let me and my child go hungry. Gwen's ears turned red again, and she jumped on Li Shu. You took advantage of me again. Ouch. It bit Li Shu's shoulder like a puppy. Li Shu took Gwen into his arms. No, the conscience of heaven and earth, you have to believe in yourself. Ow. Gwen bit Li Shu's shoulder like a puppy. But after a while, she raised her head in doubt. Why don't you feel pain? Obviously I'm a little harder. Li Shu said gently. Because you bite me, I will never hurt, I will only feel happy. In fact, it's just that Gwen's power is too small. Gwen kissed Li Shu and smiled. I'll let you go. Gwen got up and was about to pay, but was held back by Li Shu. Gwen wondered, what? Li Shu smiled and said, I'll pay. Gwen said, aren't you out of money? Li Shu pinched Gwen's sensual little face. The one who lied to you said he had no money. Gwen hurriedly shook his head. Keep your money first, you eat so much, how can you get enough money for your money? I'll come for this meal. Saying that, she insisted on paying the money, and she was a little stubborn. Li Shu was a little helpless for this girl who was so good to him. He quickly took out his black card. Okay, what do you think this is? Gwen wondered. A black bank card, what's wrong? Li Shu passed the bank card a little. Look carefully. City black card. Gwen read the words on it, his eyes widened immediately. City black card, the royal existence in the credit card, unlimited overdraft, is a symbol of high status. Gwen stammered slightly. City. Black. Card. The one I know. Black card. Li Shu nodded, and immediately handed the card to the front desk. When he saw the card, the front desk who was originally just polite changed his appearance immediately. With that attitude, I wish I could support Li Shu as a father. Seeing this change of attitude, Gwen's expression froze slightly. Gwen was immediately confused. You. How come you have this card, aren't you alone? She thought of something, and immediately opened her eyes. Could it be that you have found a biological family, and it is the kind that is rich enough to rival the country? After checking out, Li Shu withdraws the card. Li Shu patted Gwen's forehead with the card, and said with a smile. What are you thinking about? Give me a pair of parents out of thin air, right? Li Shu said. This is what I earned. Gwen's eyes widened. How come? You're only 18, how can you earn so much? To be able to get a black card, that's how rich. It is basically impossible for an 18-year-old boy to make a fortune. Li Shu walked out of the store with Gwen. He said, because I sold some high-tech patents, I made a lot of money. These days, the reason why I take leave to go to school is because I am doing scientific research and making money. Immediately, Li Shu said with a smile, so you don't have to worry about my admission to a university, my conditions can basically apply to any school. In the future, if you want to go to that school, I will go to which school with you. You just need to work hard for the test. But Li Shu wasn't worried about Gwen's grades. Gwen is very smart, so his grades are always among the best. Gwen was stunned. Selling high-tech patents. And earning money to own a black card. This is too dreamy. Li Shu touched Gwen's head and said helplessly, okay, let me show you, which company will give me so much money. Li Shu is also not going to hide from his girlfriend about his secular identity. Saying that, Li Shu called a car and took Gwen towards the Stark building. Gwen was a little suspicious. If you are so rich, why don't you buy a car? Seeing Gwen's suspicious little expression, Li Shu went up and took a bite. He then spread his hands. Isn't this to prevent my classmates from feeling distant from me? After all, I am so approachable. The reason why I didn't buy a car was mainly because the money came too fast and I didn't have time to spend it. Although he now has super ability, he can go wherever he wants. However, since we live in human society, sometimes we still have to follow human habits, so as to better integrate into human society. After all, he is a human being, and he needs to integrate into human society to gain satisfaction and relieve loneliness. If he is completely divorced, he will be an immortal. The car is not just a means of transportation. After having money, it is embellishment, with beautiful clothes. Young people like supercars, and he is no exception. The taxi driver looked at Li Shu's whole body from the rearview mirror, and immediately pouted. I murmured a few words in my heart. Today's children, in order to catch girls, bragging is more and more outrageous, completely out of reality. I don't even think about it. Who would like someone so out of touch with reality? Gwenpist smiled. You are usually approachable at school, and you are obviously full of distance from your classmates, as if you are not the same age as them. You are an adult, and they are little kids. Li Shu slandered. In fact, this is the truth. Li Shu shook his head, spread his hands and said, I originally wanted to get along as an ordinary person, but the exchange was alienation. I don't pretend, I'll showdown. In fact, I'm a billionaire. The taxi driver shook his head. Hey, it doesn't help. Billionaires? Never heard of it on the list. There are 18. Gwen smiled and threw herself into Li Shu's arms. Actually, you said that you are a hidden rich second generation. I would like to imagine a little more. Hee hee. Li Shu smiled helplessly. Sometimes, the truth is so outrageous that no one believes the truth. When the two were talking, the Stark building appeared in the sight of the two of them. Li Shu even saw the door of the building. Tony was talking on the phone. The car stopped in front of the building. Li Shu pulled Gwen out of the car and said with a smile, You'll know right away whether your boyfriend is the first or second generation. The two walked towards the building. The taxi master shook his head slightly and said softly, You can't do it now, young man. Just when he said that, there was news on the radio. Recently, according to the news I got, a mysterious 18-year-old boy won 30% of the shares in Tony Stark's hands, and was promoted to a new billionaire, and successfully squeezed into the top 50 of the nation's richest list. Hear the news. The taxi driver's whole body roar sucked instantly. 18 years old, the new billionaire. God, this life is too good. But his gaze immediately fell on Li Shu's back. But immediately he shook his head. Would a billionaire ride in his car? This is just a brag boy. Saying that, he started the car and prepared to leave. As a result, I saw that Stark, the rich man, put down his mobile phone and ran towards the boy enthusiastically. This scene made the driver stare slightly. Tony saw Li Shu, hung up the phone, ran up and gave Li Shu a big warm hug. Hi, brother. See this scene. Gwen next to him was stunned. She did not expect that the legendary super rich was so close to her boyfriend. Tony glanced at Gwen and said to Li Shu, Brother, your girlfriend is so beautiful. Li Shu introduced with a smile, My girlfriend, Gwen. Li Shu said to Gwen. I won't explain this one, Tony Stark. Everyone in the United States should know it. Gwen shook hands with Tony and said roar. Tony asked, What are you doing here? Li Shu said, I took her to visit. Tony laughed. Just look at it, your own house. Tony then took Li Shu's shoulders and said, That's right, Hugh. 30% of the shares of Stark Group in my hands have been successfully registered in your name through legal procedures. You are already the veritable second largest shareholder of Stark Group. We are a listed company, and these will be disclosed to the public, so your identity has also been disclosed. The public will soon know you're the new Stark second in command, and you'll be ready to go viral. Li Shu said with a smile, Small problem. Super rich Tony Stark, 30% of the shares? The new Stark Group's second in command? This information is like huge amounts of nuclear bombs. It exploded in the minds of Gwen and the driver. Like a volcanic eruption. The driver's master looked at the young figure, his eyes trembling. He murmured. How is this possible? 18 years old. Billionaire. This guy really isn't bragging. His pupils were full of disbelief. Gwen just stopped in place, his eyes full of sluggishness. She never imagined that what her boyfriend said was true, that he was really a billionaire. And not just an ordinary billionaire, but a billionaire. Huge amounts of astronomical numbers knocked Gwen stunned. Tony looked at Gwen and smiled. Didn't you tell her this before? Li Shu smiled helplessly. She doesn't believe it. She thinks that at most I was found by a wealthy biological family. Tony laughed. If it were me, I wouldn't believe it. 18-year-old billionaires can't be found in the whole world. Even when I inherited the family property, I was 21 years old. Li Shu patted Gwen's forehead. Wake up. Gwen covered her forehead. Her little face was still shocked, and she trembled. You. Really a billionaire. Li Shu couldn't help laughing and crying. Do I still want to join others to deceive you? Gwen swallowed a mouthful of saliva. My boyfriend is a billionaire. I'm developed, hee. Gwen said and giggled. Although I know that my boyfriend is a billionaire, there is no sense of distance at all. Tony gave Li Shu a secret thumbs up. In his opinion, a girl can achieve such a sense of distance when she learns that her boyfriend is almost as rich as the country, only because the girl doesn't care so much about material things. I don't care about material things, and jokingly say that she is developed. I can only say that this girl is still very smart, a little funny and cute. So Tony said that the girlfriend Li Shu chose was really good. Li Shu saw Tony's gesture, and the corners of his mouth were slightly upturned. After all, when his girlfriend is praised by others, he is also honored. Li Shu rubbed Gwen's head and chuckled. Yes, you took advantage of the boss. Gwen smiled and raised her pink fist to the sky. Yes, my boyfriend is the invincible #1 in the universe. There was more admiration in Gwen's sparkling eyes. After all, there is no girl who doesn't want her other half to be very powerful. She didn't expect her boyfriend to be so powerful at all. Simply awesome. 18-year-old billionaire, the only one in the world. Li Shu pinched the other's cheek dotingly. Tony stood by and touched his nose. He really did not expect that, as a playboy, he would still be a light bulb one day. Just at this time, a car stopped on the side of the road, and a man with some serious hair loss got out of the car and ran towards Li Shu. The visitor is naturally the leader of the horse. Just now, Master Ma wanted to ask Li Shu something and called him. So Li Shu invited the other party here. Boss, Master Ma shouted. Li Shu nodded slightly. Master Ma saw Tony next to Li Shu, and his pupils trembled slightly. For the current horse leader, Tony is an unattainable super-rich man and his idol. He didn't expect his boss to have a relationship with Tony. But when I think about it, I don't feel anything wrong. After all, my boss is also a technological genius, and he holds a lot of wealth. The top circle is so big, so it is normal to have friendship with the rich man Tony. He was a little excited, stepped forward and stretched out his hand to Tony. Hello, Mr. Tony, I have long been famous. Tony doesn't know anything about at the moment's little-known horse leader. But looking at Li Shu's face, he still shook hands gently. Li Shu asked, "What do you want to ask?" Master Ma immediately asked some questions he wanted to ask, such as financing and so on. Li Shu answered them one by one. For example, in financing, he will mortgage part of his equity to the bank in exchange for billions of USD in cash flow to the new company. After listening to Li Shu's answer, the horse leader left and continued to sweat for Li Shu's new company. Gwen next to him listened to Li Shu's incomparably professional answer, and there was more admiration in his eyes. Especially in Gwen's opinion, Li Shu's serious and professional appearance is so handsome, it's like she's shining. Gwen's girl's heart is pounding. Tony next to him listened to the conversation between the two and finally understood something. It turned out that Li Shu was going to start an electric car company. Hearing that the other party even wanted the shares of the Stark Group to be mortgaged in exchange for huge cash flow, Tony frowned slightly. He said solemnly, "Hugh, will it be too risky for you to do this? Stark Group stock is one of the most valuable stocks in the world. You put it there, and you won't be able to spend your annual dividends. Pledge billions of dollars to invest in the electric vehicle industry, such a large sum. Once you lose money, your stock will be completely gone. By then there will be no money left. Moreover, the current electric vehicle technology is not perfect at all, it is very crude, and the production cost is extremely high, almost all of which are loss-making transactions. Judging from the current electric vehicle industry, fuel-guzzling vehicles are still the biggest, and for a long time in the future, electric vehicles are likely to be a bottomless pit. If you want to start a business, you can use the $100 million I gave you to start a business. Even if you lose money, it's nothing. Stocks will always bring you wealth." Li Shu smiled. "I'm confident, don't worry, Tony, I know what I'm doing. In the future, the electric vehicle industry will create miracles, and maybe the market value of our company will even exceed yours." Tony laughed and shook his head slightly. Judging from this era, no one would have thought that there would be a monster company called Tesla in the future. In a few years, it has skyrocketed from tens of billions to $4 trillion, creating an unparalleled market value myth. Now the market value of Stark Group is only hundreds of billions, which is really much worse than Tesla's market value. Definitely Stark Group makes money and really makes money, and the profit far exceeds other companies. However, Li Shu knew that his company could not lose money, so the shares of Stark Group could not really flow out of his hands. It will only print money to him from beginning to end. Seeing that Li Shu was determined, he didn't say more, He just said with a smile. Okay. Young people like to create, it's normal. It doesn't matter, you are still very young, and you can afford it. With your material, even if you lose this stock, you will definitely stand up again. Li Shu is not explaining, time will tell. Then the two chatted again, and Tony went to work. Li Shu took Gwen to visit the Stark building. Now, Li Shu's identity is basically known within the Star Group, and he is the second largest director of the group. So every employee sees him and greets him warmly called Li Dong. At the same time, the eyes they looked at Li Shu were full of admiration and eagerness. Relying on top inventions to obtain tens of billions of assets, this is too inspirational, and it is simply the protagonist in the movie, which is admired and envied. Seeing that Li Shu has such a high status in the company, Gwen is also very happy and proud. Gwen was also a little tired after visiting the Stark building. Li Shu wiped the sweat from Gwen's forehead. It seems that someone needs to exercise more. Gwen rolled his eyes. I basically get full marks in sports. It's not that I can't. It's obviously someone who is too perverted. Gwen wrinkled her nose and glanced at Li Shu suspiciously. By the way, why are you not tired at all? Are you really human? Li Shu didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and pinched Gwen's nose. You finally discovered my secret. In fact, I am the Superman in the comics. In this world, Li Shu unexpectedly discovered that there are still some scattered DC comics in this world. Superman is also quite famous in this world. When Gwen heard this, the chick pecking rice nodded. Ah yes, you are Superman. Li Shu. Dude, didn't find out. Gwen has learned yin and yang. Looks like it's time to clean up this little girl. Thought here. Li Shu said with a smile. Let's go, I'll show you my home again. Let you see where I usually live. Gwen was still curious about her boyfriend's house, and she really wanted to see it, so she nodded immediately. Then Li Shu borrowed a supercar from Tony and took Gwen to his house. The sea sparkled in the sun, like countless gold in the sea. On the long road by the sea, a supercar was galloping. Roar sucked the smell of the sea and let out a wanton roar. It seems that the sea has the salty taste of the sun, and it is the best gasoline that can ignite everything. In the car sat a pair of handsome young girls. The strong wind lifted their hair, and their faces only had bright smiles, in response to the sun and the sea roar. The rich sea breeze poured into the mouth, salty, but with a burst of sweetness. The wind was violent, the waves were surging, and the motor exploded. Everything is fiery and surging, full of infinite livelihoods. The gust of wind swept past, and it seemed to have a youthful atmosphere. At that extreme speed, Gwen's adrenaline exploded. She raised her hands, her little face was full of excitement and happiness. Phew! I'm so happy. Gwen, a good girl, did such an exciting thing for the first time, and her heart was endlessly excited and happy. She felt that the happiness came so warm and surging, and for the first time she felt a strong youthful breath. Li Shu laughed and said, then have more fun. He stepped on the gas pedal and increased his speed. Boom! The wild and wanton roar is exploding, accompanied by the girl's happy high roar voice. Ow! This moment. Teenagers and girls are recklessly enjoying the high-speed stimulation at the seaside, enjoying the surging youth in this hot summer. The super run ran through the long runway and came to a beachfront building. The girl still had an unfinished taste on her face, and she hugged Li Shu's neck. Always be nice to me in the future, okay? Li Shu kissed the girl's forehead. I will. Done. He pinched Gwen's little face and looked at the waterfront building in front of him. Dear. This is where I live, go up and have a look. Gwen looked at the magnificent building in front of him with bright eyes, and said, wow, this house is so beautiful, it's spectacular. Let's go. I'm going to see my boyfriend's house. I don't know if he has a treasure in a golden house. Saying that Gwen is a little excited, for the other half you will be curious about everything about him. You can't wait to know all about him. Then, Li Shu took Gwen upstairs. After Gwen entered Li Shu's house, her eyes were always bright and she kept giving out alarm. Although Gwen's family is very good, but only good. It was the first time she saw such a magnificent and beautiful flat, and the various designs were very beautiful. Gwen looked at the vast sea outside and said, it's so beautiful, your house. You can see both the bustling Manhattan in the blue sky and the sea from outside. It's really comfortable. Li Shu hugged her and said softly, now, this is also a house. Hearing Li Shu's words, Gwen felt sweet in her heart, and hummed softly, her beautiful little face full of happiness. Li Shu whispered beside Gwen's white and smooth earlobe. I said, You will never starve me and the child, I will check. Feeling the fiery temperature on Li Shu's body, Gwen's white ears instantly turned red. She turned her head and said angrily, you know how to bully me. Li Shu laughed. In Gwen's roar, Li Shu carried her into the bedroom. The fiery youth symphony passed. In this afternoon, the two grew up. Gwen hugged Li Shu and asked, honey, will you love me forever? Li Shu gently kissed Gwen's forehead. Yes. Gwen lifted his chin and looked at Li Shu's handsome face. That looks good. Saying that, she used her small hands to stroke Li Shu's eyelashes. Gwen's little hands were pink and still covered with small beads of sweat. Small beads of sweat fell directly into Li Shu's eyes. Li Shu let out an oops. Gwen was so frightened that she hurriedly said, you're all right, dear. As she said that, she quickly got up and wanted to see Li Shu's condition, but the blanket slipped off her body. Li Shu looked straight at each other. Gwen also stared straight into Li Shu's eyes, and there was no difference at all. Obviously there was no problem. Gwen hugged her chest and said angrily, you lied to me again, obviously nothing happened. Li Shu showed a hint of narrowness. Dear, I'm hungry again. Gwen panicked. No. Another lively voice of youth. It's almost evening. Gwen got up from the bed, it was raining. Seeing Gwen like this, Li Shu quickly stepped forward and comforted. What's the matter, dear? Gwen was wronged and said in a hoarse voice. I didn't eat 6 yuan mala tang tonight. Woo woo woo. Li Shu was speechless. Good guy, it's on sale now, right? She thumped Li Shu with her pink fist and said, her eyes twinkling with tears, you are really a monster. Li Shu also wanted to hug Gwen to comfort him twice. The other party was so frightened that he ran out of bed and limped. She put on Li Shu's pajamas and stared at Li Shu angrily, don't touch me. Saying that, she took a few steps and took a cold breath. Worried and cried again. Gwen limped out of the bedroom and muttered to himself in horror, what's next? Looking at Gwen's appearance, Li Shu felt distressed and funny. He also put on his pajamas and walked out of the bedroom. Gwen was lying on the sofa at the moment, and when she saw Li Shu come out, she was terrified. Li Shu said gently, okay, I won't touch you anymore. When Gwen heard this, he slowly relaxed. Li Shu hugged Gwen in his arms, and the two watched TV quietly. There is also an animal world on the TV, showing the charm of nature. The blue ocean, the green grassland, the white snow-capped mountains, everything is very beautiful. The two quietly enjoyed everything on the TV, and when they saw the beautiful scenery, they both showed knowing smiles. In the whole room, there are only the low voice of the narration in the TV and the sound of nature. There is clearly a sound, but the whole room is extraordinarily quiet, it seems to be peaceful in the soul. The huge room did not appear to be empty at this moment, because the calm and warm atmosphere filled the entire room. Under the magic of nature, in the tranquil atmosphere of the room, Gwen's emotions and pain seemed to calm down. She was lying in Li Shu's arms, watching TV calmly with a quiet smile on the corner of her mouth. Gwen looked at the TV and said in a hoarse voice, honey. Huh? What's wrong? Li Shu asked gently. His chin was on Gwen's hair at this moment, and a faint fragrance penetrated into his nose, which made Li Shu's mind calm. Gwen said, we have to walk around in the future, okay? We will travel all over the world, see the scenery of the whole world, and eat the food of the world. We will listen to the noise of the world in the tranquility of nature. Gwen touched Li Shu's hand gently. Li Shu kissed Gwen's hair and said softly, okay, I'll accompany you wherever you want to go. Even if you want to see the beauty of other planets and eat the food of other planets, I will take you there. Gwen giggled, but then gasped. She said resentfully, you are really amazing. Li Shu laughed dumbly. He rubbed Gwen's little hand lightly and said nothing. Gwen immediately retracted his thoughts and snorted lightly. Really, you don't make drafts for bragging. You will also take me to other planets. We can't even get to Mars. Does that mean that if I want the stars in the sky, you will also pluck them for me? Li Shu said with a smile. As long as you want, I will take off even the stars in the sky and make you a star necklace. Gwen snorted softly, a sweet smile on her face. She pouted and said, forget your sweet mouth, I forgive you for what happened today. Li Shu looked at Gwen's cute appearance, and squeezed the other's pouted mouth with his hand. Woo. Gwen's little face slapped Li Shu's hand quickly. Li Shu let go and laughed. Gwen Chi roar said, you're going to die. Li Shu doesn't know why, he just likes to make fun of Gwen, and when he looks at Roar, he is very happy. Seeing that Li Shu was still smiling, Gwen Roar continued watching TV, ignoring Li Shu. Li Shu teased her, but she ignored it. But after a while, she started talking bala again. For a while, I talked about the school, and for a while, about the recent drama, and for a while about which place has the most beautiful scenery. Gwen was chattering, lying in Li Shu's arms like a little sparrow. Li Shu listened quietly to Gwen's chirping words, and occasionally responded to her. Hearing Gwen's chirping words, he felt extra peaceful and happy, and extra comfortable and warm. Just like that, the two stayed for a while. The huge sunset outside the floor-to-ceiling windows has begun to fall, and the sea has turned red. Seeing the sunset outside the window, Gwen was startled by Roar. It's over, I have to go home, or my parents will definitely nag me. If I go back at night and still limp, it must be a pill. Saying that, she quickly got up. As a result, the action was too fast, and there was another hissing sound. Li Shu quickly supported her and said with a smile, "Slow down. Why are you in such a hurry?" Gwen snorted and spat at him. "It's all your fault." Then Gwen walked into the bedroom, stretched out a small head, stretched out a thin green finger, and said coldly, "You are not allowed to come in." After speaking, he closed the door with a snap, then locked it, and started changing clothes inside. Seeing this, Li Shu shook his head with a laugh. This little girl. If he wants to go in, the door and the wall are simply air. The little girl's movements are still very fast. He quickly changed into his clothes and walked out. With a capable golden ponytail, it was the young girl wearing denim suspenders again. Gwen clenched his lips. "You also go and change your clothes, and then take me home, it's not safe to go back so late." Li Shu stepped forward and scratched the other side's nose. "Even if you don't tell me I know, how could I let my precious girlfriend walk at night in meaty? Don't worry, I will send you home safely." Gwen folded her arms and held her snow-white chin up. "Shout, who doesn't know that you are the most dangerous?" But immediately, there was an unstoppable smile on his face, sweet. With such a sweet smile on that cold face, it was extraordinarily beautiful. Soon, Li Shu put on his clothes and went downstairs with Gwen on his back. Lying on Li Shu's broad back, Gwen felt extra safe. So she took the opportunity to peck Li Shu on the cheek, and said proudly, "To reward you, this princess's heroic night." Hearing Gwen's somewhat childish and lovely remarks, Li Shu smiled sarcastically. Subsequently, Li Shu sent Gwen back, but Gwen did not let his car drive to the door. After all, she was limping, and there was a boy beside her. When her parents saw it, they would not be able to explain it clearly. So Li Shu watched the limping Gwen go back to his home. After feeling relieved, Li Shu drove the supercar and left here. Gwen's house. The parents were still waiting for Gwen to eat. Seeing Gwen come back, the two hurried up to greet him with a smile. "Daughter, are you back?" Chief George hurriedly went up to take Gwen's school bag. The mother pinched Gwen's little face. "Today, I feel my good daughter, her face is extraordinarily rosy." There was an imperceptible blush on Gwen's face. Gwen hurriedly calmed down and said with a chuckle, "It may be that the food my mother cooked these days was so delicious that she fed her fat daughter." The mother giggled happily and pinched Gwen's little face dotingly. Gwen put on slippers and walked towards the dining table. She had finished her meal, and she consumed too much in the afternoon, and she was very hungry now. The mother immediately realized that something was wrong with her daughter. "Hey, dear daughter, why are you lame?" Hearing this, George, the policeman, also looked at his daughter. Seeming to feel his father's sharp eyes, Gwen's heart skipped a beat. After all, his father was a policeman, and his eyes were savage, so Gwen was very nervous, and was very afraid that his father would see through him. She was nervous, but Gwen was calm on the outside. She was alert and immediately pretended not to care and spread her hands. "Sorry, we were playing volleyball during gym class in the afternoon, but my classmate accidentally bumped into me, and then my foot twisted. Damn, this semester, it's been 2 times. Mother wants to go up to see Gwen's foot injury. Let mommy see, mommy will get it for you." Gwen waved indifferently. "I have already gone to the infirmary this afternoon to get it, and I don't need to do it again." Mother didn't listen and walked towards Gwen. It's over. If the mother checked her for no injuries, she would have been suspicious, and she would have discovered the real reason for her limping. Gwen looked at her mother who was getting closer, her heart was beating so violently that it almost jumped out. At this moment, Gwen was mad. Just at this time. Guji, Gwen's stomach suddenly let out a loud cry. Gwen hurriedly said. Mom, I'm hungry. I want to eat. I've been exercising vigorously this afternoon, and I'm consuming too much. At this time, George opened his mouth and said, Okay, all the professional stuff is done, let my daughter eat. Mother hurriedly said, Okay, let's eat and eat. Gwen sat on the bench, eyes lit up. It's delicious. How many bowls one can eat today? Mother dotingly smiled and said, Eat, eat, eat. Gwen finally breathed a sigh of relief and almost revealed that it was the bad guy. When she bowed her head to eat, there was a hint of viciousness in her eyes. Mudballs. On the road at night, the convertible supercar ran wild and roared. Li Shu sat inside, enjoying the baptism of the strong wind. Suddenly, a sneeze came up, but Li Shu held it back. Li Shu couldn't help touching his nose. Who was thinking of me? His foot was on the gas pedal. Boom. The supercar roared even more deeply, galloping out, turning into a yellow line, and quickly disappearing into the street. People on the side of the road looked at it, all with envious eyes. I rub. What a handsome yellow supercar. It's so handsome, this car. I envy people who drive this kind of car. Woo woo woo. I was drunk when I heard the sound of the motor, and I also seemed to give it a try. You? Hurry up and move bricks, stop daydreaming. Soon. Li Shu went back to his home. The bedroom had already been tidied up by Gwen. The blood-stained sheet was also taken away by Gwen. Looking at the normal bedroom, Li Shu showed a smile. Just as he was about to lie down on the bed and take a nap, he suddenly remembered that Fifanlong was still in the Skyline Canyon. Too busy today to completely forget about this guy. Almost left this guy out in the wild all night. He went back to the bedroom. Wave your hand lightly. Golden broken light appears to rotate. Suddenly, a portal appeared. Hold head high. There was a happy dragon roar over there. Then the extraordinary dragon of the National People's Congress passed the portal and flew into the house. Hey, master, I'm back. Li Shu waved his hand and the portal disappeared. He patted Fifanlong's head. Are you full? Feifeilong snorted, indicating that he was full. Li Shu nodded in satisfaction and said, Well, get me something to eat. My appetite is 18 times that of a normal person. Feifeilong saluted. Okay, master. Seeing the moves that Fifanlong learned from nowhere, Li Shu couldn't help laughing and crying. Go, go, go. Feifeilong then walked out of the kitchen and started to get things for Li Shu. Li Shu sat on the sofa and continued to watch TV. On the sofa, there is still a little Gwen smell, a faint fragrance. Smelling the faint body fragrance, the corners of Li Shu's mouth twitched slightly, and his heart instantly calmed down. He watched TV quietly, enjoying this moment of tranquility. After a while, a strong aroma came out, instantly arousing Li Shu's taste buds, making his index finger move. Li Shu's eyes lit up. Good guy. Thinking about it this way, he didn't expect that Fifanlong was very good at cooking, beyond his imagination. It's more fragrant than what he usually makes. After all, he has no cooking skills, and he usually eats for the purpose of simply eating and supplementing his body's needs. Soon, the extraordinary dragon with a waistband came out with pots of delicious food. Big fish and big meat, green vegetables, fruit salad, everything is available. Li Shu was slightly stunned when he saw it. Unexpectedly, Feifeilong can actually make so many things. This craft is far beyond his imagination. Master, please taste my craftsmanship. Li Shu came to the table and started to enjoy it. The first bite, his eyes lit up completely. These delicacies do not have to be inferior to those starred Michelin restaurants. Li Shu completely moved his index finger and swept the table like a wind and a cloud. At the end of the meal, my stomach was a little stretched. Li Shu enjoyed lying on the chair incomparably, touching his stomach, and raised a thumb towards Feifeilong. It's delicious. Hearing Li Shu's compliment, Fifanlong Han smiled. Hey, the master likes it. So, master, can I play the game for a while? Li Shu nodded with a smile. You can play if you want, this is your home too. Hearing Li Shu's words, Feifeilong was a little moved, but it was immediately replaced by the excitement and happiness of playing games. Immediately, Feifeilongpidian quickly took the dishes to the dishwasher and washed them. Then he ran into the living room and started playing games. After all, the extraordinary dragon has been awake for some time, and has traveled the world, so he knows many things about human society. For the game of the human world, it is very fond of. Lying on the sofa, Li Shu looked at the extremely happy Feifeilong and showed a smile. It was a good choice to choose Fei Fei Long at the beginning, and it was a must to get rice. Moreover, after developing and tapping its potential, the extraordinary dragon will become even stronger. He said, "Little dragon." Fei Fei Long responded quickly, "What's the matter, master?" His eyes were still staring at the screen, and the chubby dragon hand was still operating at a high speed. Li Shu said with a smile, "Your body's potential has not been fully developed yet. When the time comes, you can exercise with me to improve your strength." Fei Fei Long replied quickly, Okay. But the next moment, its body stopped. Exercise. Exercise. Master, did I hear it right? What is exercise? For the dragon family, lying down can enhance the strength. Exercise? That is an ethereal word. Li Shu looked at Fei Fei Long with a smile. It's not bad, it's just exercise. Although your current strength is not bad, it's far from enough. Well, I'm going to bed, you can continue playing. After speaking, Li Shu turned around and walked towards his bedroom. Fei Fei Long replied quickly, but the tone soon dragged down. Okay. Fei Fei Long sat in front of the screen with a bitter face and murmured, "Exercise. Does the dragon want to exercise?" But then Fei Fei Long shook his head and cheered himself up. Exercise is just exercise. Usually there are so many people in the park exercising. So many things that mortals can do. Can't I do it from the dragon clan? Isn't it that easy to do? Huh? Thinking of this, Fei Fei Long instantly calmed down and continued to play games happily. The extraordinary dragon at the moment has not realized the seriousness of the matter. The next day, Li Shu woke up early. He was not in a hurry to go to New Mexico State. There were people watching him over there, and it was not yet time to go. He went straight to the Stark building, because he needs to make the last thing, which is the gravity room. This thing will be able to help him tap the physical power better in the simulation, and help the extraordinary dragon tap the power in reality. Definitely, he doesn't need to make too many multiples of the gravity room at the moment. Only need to get a 500 times, it is more than enough. Then Li Shu made it in a large laboratory underground in the Stark building. The manufacture of the gravity room is too complicated and has too many procedures, so it took him almost a day to get the things out. Inside a large laboratory, a 100 square meter superalloy house stands. This is Li Shu's latest product, the 500 times gravity room. Definitely the gravity inside can be adjusted, from 1 time to 500 times. Looking at the gravity room, Li Shu smiled. This thing will accompany him in the extraordinary dragon's growth in the future. Li Shu walked in and activated the gravity room. Directly turned on 100 times, boom. A strong mountain of gravity pressed down on Li Shu. However, Li Shu can easily adapt. He almost stepped up. 110, 120, 190, 200, to the end. 200 times the terrifying gravity, all pressed on Li Shu. Li Shu's roar suction has started to suffer hugely, and his movements have also been affected by huge amounts of. He instantly understood his gravity zone. That is about 200 times, which can maximize his exercise effect. Next, in the simulation, use the gravity room to vigorously tap his strength. But in reality, this is the special room of the extraordinary dragon. Li Shu looked at the gravity room and showed a smile. Inside the Binhai building, Fei Fei Long, who was playing a game, sneezed and instantly felt an inexplicable cold war. He did not immediately take the gravity room back and use it for the extraordinary dragon. Because the simulation cooldown time is up again, it's time for a new simulation. He adjusted the multiplier back to 100 times, and his body suddenly lightened. He immediately sat on the ground and started a new simulation. Simulation cooldown time is over. Do you want to start a new simulation? Mock. Li Shu said. Start a new simulation. Please choose your simulation ability. Immediately, a bunch of various simulation abilities appeared. God rewards hard work. Purple, the compassionate person, white. Evil scientist, purple, best actor, blue, rager, blue. Joke master, white, unknown terminal disease, purple. Li Shu quickly scanned all the abilities. This time it was normal luck. In addition to the inherited, Heaven's Way rewards diligence. There are a total of 3 purple abilities. Among them, there is a prompt after, Heaven's Way rewards diligence. Note. This ability has been inherited twice, and if you inherit it again, it will enter a random state. Seeing this, Li Shu slapped his mouth. It's a pity that it can only be inherited 3 times. To be honest, this ability is quite useful, although it is not easy to feel, but the effect is real. Li Shu's attention is on the other two abilities. Just seeing the names of these two abilities, Li Shu's mouth twitched a few times. The names of these two abilities are too weird. Evil Scientist. Unknown Terminal Disease. No matter how you look at it, there is no positive energy at all. Evil Scientist. Purple. You have a powerful research ability, but you do not have normal human ethics. In your eyes, everything is the object of your research. You dare to study anything and you are daring, which makes you always wandering on the edge of death, dancing like the tip of a knife, and flirting with Death God is your hobby. In order to achieve your goals, you are extremely despicable and eloquent. People like you are the most feared by others. Seeing this ability, Li Shu clicked his tongue slightly. It really smells like a villain. Just using this ability, are you sure you won't be killed by the decent people? Unknown Terminal Illness. Purple. You have a terminal illness, which will occur after 7 years, and if it occurs, you will die. You can find ways to delay or cure this terminal illness. During this period of time when there is no attack, your abilities in all aspects will be greatly increased, your cultivation speed will be fast, and your research will be faster. See this ability. Li Shu's eyes widened. In addition to the death of a terminal illness, it is a super powerful all-purpose buff, a powerful all-round gain. As for death, he looked at the Evil Scientist ability and smiled. 7 years? With the ability of Evil Scientist, it is estimated that he can live to the 7th year. So this, unknown terminal disease, is completely Bailey's harmless super ability. Li Shu looked at this ability. I can't help but fall into contemplation. What kind of terminal illness is this? Why is it so severe? This is definitely not as simple as a simple terminal illness, and it is estimated that there are some secrets hidden in it. Otherwise, why bring such an amazing gain effect and increase the ability in all aspects? According to the description, it seems that this terminal illness can also delay the onset time, or even cure it. If you delay the attack time, you can enjoy more of this powerful buff. If this terminal illness is completely cured, is it actually a permanent powerful buff? Seeing this ability, Li Shu licked his lips. In addition to the purple ability, he also looked at other blue abilities. Neither the effect nor the function is comparable to these purple abilities. As for white, it is not within Li Shu's consideration. Before choosing, Li Shu also specifically asked system questions. System, if there is a negative situation in me in the simulation, for example, I practice evil magic, then my whole person's thinking is distorted, and finally I die, will this distortion or similar negative situation be reflected on me? No, the system will only preserve the corresponding strength, all negative situations will not be preserved, and the negative situations in the simulation will not have any impact on the host. Seeing this, Li Shu felt relieved. After deciding on the ability, the next step is to simulate. I don't know what kind of plot will appear, but Li Shu is looking forward to it. I choose, God rewards hard work, Evil Scientist, unknown terminal illness. Ability selection is successful, start a new simulation. Day 1. You are suffering from an unknown terminal illness, and you still have 7 years to live. But you are an evil scientist, and you naturally won't allow yourself to live only 7 years, and you start looking for ways to cure terminal illness. Definitely, you have not given up on strengthening yourself. You use the gravity room and the pain training method to form a devil-like training for yourself. But soon, you won't be satisfied with this pain training method. You think that this painful training method can't maximize your potential at all, so you start to make more powerful transformations for this training method. Day 7. With your amazing diligence in ability research, you have successfully researched the advanced version of the 3.0 pain training method, and started to use this method to train yourself. The cruelty of this method has reached an unprecedented level. You are in unparalleled pain, in the gravity room, and you are undergoing unprecedented training, coupled with the training ability bonus in the dark, and the unknown terminal illness. Special effects, your training effect has also reached an unprecedented level. The training ability bonus in the dark, it seems that this is the effect of God rewards diligence. The special effects brought by the unknown terminal illness seem to be the gain effect brought by unknown terminal illness. Double cultivation gain, isn't this effect not heavenly? Seeing this, Li Shu couldn't help but sniff, and looked forward to it. Day 8. You secretly hired a group of people, came to the primeval forest, gave them the corresponding equipment, and asked them to help you dig and build an underground experimental base. Day 27. Through this period of hell training, your physical strength has reached an astonishing level. In 20 days, your ultimate strength has skyrocketed by 20 tons. The total ultimate strength has reached 845 tons. Seeing this, Li Shu took a slight breath. 20 days, 20 tons. A direct surge of 30 tons in a month. This strength increases all the training effects before the slaughter. After all, when it was the most violent before, it was only 12 tons a month. The double buff, coupled with the advanced training method of an evil scientist, really took off all of a sudden. Li Shu's mouth twitched slightly when he saw this. Every time I encounter this kind of negative ability, the effect of cultivation is really improved by leaps and bounds. Could this be the legendary Blacken 10 times stronger? Day 29. With the help of high technology and workers, you have successfully built a brand new experimental base under the virgin forest. After success, you killed all the workers and made the base a place only you know. Evil, really evil. Li Shu's mouth twitched. Second month. At the same time, you set your sights on your own mount, the extraordinary dragon. In order to further strengthen it, you began to design its own training method for it. In order to maximize the potential, you have created a set of equally harsh and painful dragon training methods. This training method can greatly excavate its physical strength and temper its outer skin. However, in the face of this training method, Fanfiction is obviously unable to adapt to it. It hopes that you can greatly reduce the training burden. In this regard, you smile and express your consideration. Fanfiction is very happy. Then you paralyzed the extraordinary dragon, modified its brain, and then used scientific methods to mentally brainwash and transform it. In the end, you get a brand new Beander dragon, a robot-like Beander dragon that has had its characteristics erased and only knows how to obey you and has no emotions. The brand new extraordinary dragon perfectly executed your dragon training method, and the effect is remarkable. In a month, the ultimate strength was increased by 20 tons, and the ultimate strength was successfully increased to 400 tons. Seeing this, Li Shu clicked his tongue slightly. This wicked way is a real wicked way. First use a lie to paralyze Fanfiction and make others happy. As a result, he turned his head and directly carried out head modification on others, brainwashed them, and abruptly erased other people's feelings. In reality, he would definitely not be able to do this kind of thing to Fanfiction. After all, this has completely violated his cognition. He will let Fanfiction conduct training, even the more severe kind of training, but he will never let the other party go through inhuman and extremely painful training, and he will not erase Fanfiction's feelings. After all, it can be seen from the previous simulations that Fanfiction is very loyal to him, and he will never do something so despicable and contrary to human nature to his own people. Definitely, simulation doesn't matter. But to tell the truth, the ability of this evil way is indeed beyond doubt, and it directly increases the extraordinary dragon's ultimate strength by 20 tons per month. That year it was 240 tons, almost doubling the strength of Fanfiction. He continued to look down. In addition to training the extraordinary dragon, you are still researching your own unknown terminal illness. You try to cure this terminal illness with immortal beans, but failed. You find that this terminal illness is a bunch of virus-like cells, which constantly invade your body cells and convert them into terminally ill cells, but the terminally ill cells do not occur, but are constantly invading your body. At the current rate, it only takes 7 years for these terminally ill cells to completely occupy your body cells. In other words, when these terminally ill cells have completely occupied the body, it is time for him to die. You start to think of ways to delay the invasion of these terminally ill cells, but you have tried many medical methods to no avail. You start to look for other ways to delay the invasion of terminally ill cells. You quickly set eyes on the electric man. You want to try it out, turn yourself into an electric man, energize your body, and see if you can stop the invasion of terminally ill cells. In addition to finding ways to cure terminal illnesses, you also began to create the image of a superhero and a big philanthropist in the outside world, because you understand that a good disguise can help you resolve a lot of trouble. Relying on your powerful ability and strong financial resources, you quickly won the support of many people and became a super idol in the minds of countless people. During this time, you chose to break up with Gwen, because Gwen has little value to you, and she is very smart and sensitive. You feel that if you keep her by your side, it will cause hidden dangers. The third month. In a crime of electro-optic man, you successfully subdued him and brought him back to the experiment to study it. Needless to say, human research is always bloody and cruel. In addition to bringing the electric man back, you also set eyes on the Hulk, whose cells have undergone an unimaginable transformation in gamma rays, and the self-healing ability has reached an extremely terrifying level. You also want to experiment to see if the Hulk's cells will affect your terminally ill cells. So you launched an attack and hunt against the Hulk. In the face of your attack, the Hulk was defenseless and easily arrested. He did not expect that the honest and kind-hearted you would attack him. Afterwards, you brought the Hulk back to the laboratory and conducted inhumane experiments on it, dividing it, dissecting it, integrating terminally ill cells, and so on. The Hulk's desperate cry resounded throughout the experiment. However, it is impossible for this sound to attract the attention of the outside world, because it is 1,000 meters underground, and the surrounding area is filled with top-level sound insulation materials. No one knows that there is a top-level laboratory 1,000 meters below the ground in the virgin forest outside New City, and it is full of bloody experiments. In stark contrast to your experiment, it is your external image. Through this period of time, you have punished the evil and eliminated evil, as well as the public welfare of huge wealth, plus your surface affinity and gentleness, so that you are loved by many people. You have become a super idol in the eyes of countless people. Your popularity is soaring, even approaching the management effect of the motherland in the past 10 years, and you have faintly won the title of people's favorite superhero. What you don't know is that this makes the people of the motherland feel jealous and hostile towards you, but this emotion has been suppressed by the Walter Company. After all, they don't want to mess with you who have great influence, but no one knows this. The stock pressure can also be pressed for too long. Month 4. After you conducted a series of inhumane experiments on the Electric Man, you successfully reproduced his experiments. You did the Electric Man experiment on yourself, and you successfully obtained the Electric Man ability. You turn yourself into an Electric Man and start to detect terminally ill cells, and soon you find that when you turn into electrical energy, the terminally ill cells in your body also suspend their invasion activities, but when you change back to matter, the invasion starts again. However, this does not really delay the invasion of your terminally ill cells. After all, when you are turned into electrical energy, you will not be able to continue experimenting, and you will not be able to practice cultivation. After this experiment, you did not gain nothing. You successfully obtained the ability of the Electric Man, which greatly increased your chances of survival. When someone wants to kill you, you can become an Electric Man to avoid the attack, or simply run away and escape. If you want to kill you, it becomes more difficult. Perhaps this is the ultimate goal of your study of the Electric Man. After all, for you, becoming stronger is just as important as solving a terminal illness. Li Shu's eyes lit up. Gained the Electric Man ability. With this ability, in reality, if you can't win, just run away. General ability, basically unable to cause any damage to the electrified him. It can be said that this is an extremely skinny ability. One day this month, while you were fighting crime in your spare time, you overturned a Hydra base in Sanfeng Mountain, New Mexico, where illegal human experiments were being conducted. Your move has successfully rescued a lot of people, including Wanda and Quicksilver. New Mexico, Sanfeng Mountain. Li Shu silently remembered this place. With his wife inside, he naturally went to rescue him. Through this attack on the Hydra base and the extraordinary human experiment, you gain huge amounts of prestige and successfully become the most popular superhero. At the same time, you agreed to the invitation of the Black Marinated Egg and officially joined S.H.I.E.L.D. Using your high prestige, you obtained the position of Deputy Director. The reason why you joined S.H.I.E.L.D. is to better control this top intelligence organization and make it your tool. You have already aimed at the position of the Supreme Leader of S.H.I.E.L.D. Whether Pierce or Black Braised Egg are your obstacles. Because S.H.I.E.L.D. only needs one absolute emperor, and that is you. This wicked way is a real wicked way, directly entering the largest official supernatural organization, wanting to take the entire S.H.I.E.L.D. under its command. With this huge intelligence organization, if something from the evil way is revealed, then he will know it as soon as possible and grind it out as quickly as possible. It becomes more difficult to get things out of the way. After all, who was kneeling under the court, and why did he sue this official? If you complain to the authorities, the biggest possibility is that the person who complained is gone. Hydra began to contact you secretly and tried to turn against you, but you flatly refused, because you want an upright identity. Only by walking in the sunshine can you go further. And Hydra is just your sacrifice, definitely, and Black Marinated Eggs. You have to give S.H.I.E.L.D. a big change to make S.H.I.E.L.D.'s bloodline purer and more in line with your interests. Besides, you are also eyeing 18-year-old Wanda. You need an obvious set of relationships. People prefer flesh and blood, and are more tolerant of it, just like politicians need to show a stable marriage because it makes them more liked. And pure Wanda is a good choice. In addition, you are also very interested in the powerful power of Wanda, and you also hope to study it. So you started your pursuit of Wanda. You are caring and gentle on the surface, rich and powerful, and have a very good reputation. Wanda soon sank. You and Wanda have become boyfriend and girlfriend friends, talented and beautiful, and they have won the blessings of the entire society, and people's love for you has deepened. Definitely. Have you blessed you, such as Gwen, who is secretly hurt, and the people of the motherland who have been robbed of your prestige and hated you. 7th month. Through your research on the Hulk, you found that the Hulk's cells with powerful immune function and lethal gamma radiation can't stop the invasion of terminally ill cells. You didn't find a way to stop the incursion of terminally ill cells, but you found a way to intensify the invasion of terminally ill cells faster, that is, after injecting more specific energy. You want to test, if the terminally ill cell invades the entire Hulk, will it die? After all, the Hulk is almost indestructible, and its life is unimaginably tenacious. In this way, you have successfully intensified the terminally ill cells in the Hulk, greatly speeding up the invasion time. In just a few months, the terminally ill cells invaded the entire body of the Hulk. At the moment when all the invasions were completed, the terminally ill cells on the Hulk's body completely exploded, and its body began to swell and deform. The unparalleled pain stimulated the Hulk, and it let out a tormenting howl. In a short period of time, the Hulk swelled almost several times, his whole body was deformed, his nerves were completely abnormal at this moment, and his eyes lost their divine light. Finally, with a bang, the Hulk turned into countless pieces and green blood, and finally melted into green water. The Hulk eventually died under your experiment, but you didn't gain anything. By studying the Hulk's body, you gained a more powerful self-healing ability. You can recover your limbs in less than an hour, and the rest of the serious injuries can basically recover immediately. Even if your internal organs are hollowed out, it will hardly affect you, except for the unbearable pain. Seeing that evil Dao successfully killed the Hulk, Li Shu's mouth twitched a few times. Being able to kill such a tenacious creature as the Hulk is indeed an evil way. Seeing the benefits gained by the evil way, Li Shu clicked his tongue slightly. This self-healing ability is too terrifying. Even being hollowed out of the internal organs will not have much effect, and it will be able to fully recover in a short time. This ability is really too strong. 8th month. Through this period of brutal training, you have successfully tapped a lot of physical potential. You have successfully increased the ultimate strength by 210 tons, and the total ultimate strength has reached 10 tons. Your super strength and super ability have also been excavated a lot, and you have successfully increased the range from a radius of 7 kilometers to a range of 10 kilometers. Your flight speed has also been successfully increased from Mach 5 to Mach 7, gaining huge amounts of boost. At the same time, you haven't forgotten about magic, and by constantly meditating, your mana has also been improved a lot. In addition, as you continue to fight criminals and do charity, your reputation will increase, completely crushing the reputation of other superhero. This also led to the fact that the native who was originally the focus of countless people became the second place, and people's gap between the first and second was huge amounts of, which made the native people completely angry, and he finally broke out. One night, a very angry native of the motherland found you, and he opened his hot vision and wanted to kill you. This scene caused Wanda's panic. After all, in her opinion, the motherland is the most powerful superhero. Especially seeing the heat vision of the motherland rushing towards you, which caused Wanda's despair, she screamed in despair, and the power in her body ran wild in an instant. The terrifying force ran wild, instantly razing your villa in the suburbs to the ground, and the heat vision of the motherland was forcibly distorted and shot to the ground. And the people of the motherland were also greatly impacted by this force, and flew out, smashing a Tianqing. You were also hit by huge amounts of, and flew out horizontally, smashing out a sky pit. The whole body was in severe pain, and there was even a trace of blood flowing from the corner of your mouth. But this pain is nothing to you. After all, you will experience more painful practice every day. You were hit, and Wanda woke up instantly, and the rampant power in his body quickly calmed down. Seeing that he hurt you, Wanda's eyes instantly filled with tears. You hurriedly went up to appease, indicating that you could solve the people of the motherland. The people of the motherland did not expect that he would be injured by a woman, and it caused huge amounts of pain. The people of the motherland were shocked and frightened unparalleled. He was extremely scared. He was afraid that he would die here. He quickly recovered his thermal vision and wanted to escape. It's just that he is facing you, a person who cultivates both magic and body. You snap your fingers, and the whole world spins and expands rapidly, bringing the three of you into the mirror world. The native of the motherland galloped, but you twisted the direction, so he galloped towards you, which caused him incomparable panic. He quickly released his thermal vision and wanted to get rid of you. You raised your hand and easily caught the heat vision of the motherland with the palm of your hand, which shocked the motherland and Wanda. They did not expect you to be so powerful. The other party wanted to escape, but it was too late. You stepped forward to catch the other party, and used the 10 Commandments, liar, to successfully control the other party's spirit. A giant baby motherlander, the will is not strong, and the mental failure caused by fear, it is easy to be controlled by you. You ask Wanda to go back to the Binhai building first, and you will deal with the people of the motherland. You immediately took the motherlanders to the underground research room, and began to conduct human experiments on the motherland people, all kinds of analysis, and at the same time hanging the motherland people's lives. In this cruel experiment, the people of the motherland will soon be confused by you and completely mad. And through your experiments with the people of the motherland, you also understand your own physique more. You understand your upper limit strength, which is 1,500 tons. Besides, you also know that the 5th super ability also has flaws, and can be suppressed by special energy. This energy is the energy that bursts out of the soldier boy's chest. After the experiment, you broke open the opponent's head, remodeled his brain, and carried out thorough mental brainwashing and control. The ability of the 10 Commandments, liar, is short-term after all. Not long after, the motherland has completely become a tool for you. You sent it back to the Walter Group, and used him to force Uncle Fried Chicken to take the entire Walter Group into the bag. You have become the new behind-the-scenes boss of the Walter Group, and all the research data of Walter has come into your sight. Through these data, you have further learned about the number 5 super ability. At the same time, let Walter do research and patch the number 5 super ability to completely eliminate the situation of being suppressed. Month 12. In order to go further, you took a shot at the black marinated egg, and you used Hydra to successfully kill him. After the death of the black marinated egg, you became the acting director of S.H.I.E.L.D., with authority only under Pierce. The reason why you're acting director is because Hydra wants to launch their own person to become the director. Let you be the acting director temporarily. You understand. The next step is to sacrifice Hydra, thoroughly clean up the impurities in S.H.I.E.L.D., and bring all the power into your hands. You begin to wait for the opportunity and spy on Hydra for information. What you have to do is to uproot Hydra and bring all the power into your hands. The 14th month. You officially sacrificed Hydra, you made the Hydra information public, and began to hunt down and arrest these people. You arrested Pierce first, successfully obtained the highest authority of S.H.I.E.L.D., and became the real leader of S.H.I.E.L.D. Your great reputation has allowed you to gain the support of the remaining S.H.I.E.L.D. personnel and the authorities, and you have successfully twisted S.H.I.E.L.D. into a rope. With your extraordinary strength, and the cooperation of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the authorities, you will soon wipe out all Hydra members. In addition, you have also swept away the deeds they did, which gave you unprecedented credit, so you were successfully promoted to the position of the official director of S.H.I.E.L.D., and the Minister of the Security Council, becoming a big shot with monstrous authority. At the same time, because you eradicated the huge organization Hydra and swept away their unsightly deeds, your prestige in human society soared to an unprecedented level, and you almost became the light of mankind. Seeing this, Li Shu's eyes twitched slightly. Evil Dao is really fierce this time. He directly turned over the black marinated egg and Hydra, and successfully ascended the throne of the first person in S.H.I.E.L.D. With the huge authority of S.H.I.E.L.D., the resources controlled by the evil way will reach an unimaginable level. You use S.H.I.E.L.D.'s ability to extend your tentacles farther, and you have unprecedented power. You are ready to call Captain Marvel back when your strength is mature, and then research it to gain the powerful strength of Captain Marvel. Month 19. Through this period of extremely arduous training, you have further tapped the strength of your body, and the ultimate strength has been successfully increased by 300 tons. The total limit of strength has reached 15 tons. At the same time, because you are close to the ceiling, you can feel that the speed of cultivation begins to drop significantly when you practice to the back. You understand that soon your power will be stagnant. You need to find further strength. Captain Marvel is definitely not good. If she fully explodes, she will explode with the power to destroy the planet and reach level Godfather. It's too strong, you can't control it. 20th month. After thinking about it, you set your sights on the people of the Acer Protoss in Asgard. Protoss have long lives and powerful powers far beyond ordinary people, and the royal family among them can grow to an unbelievable level. You think that in the body of the Protoss, there are some magical things that give the Acer Protoss an unimaginable advantage over other races. You want to gain a longer life through the Protoss, and at the same time increase your ceiling. At the same time, you also want to know that the divine cells of the Protoss can fight against terminally ill cells. You bewitched Thor and asked him to bring more people to the Earth to live and enjoy. After all, the entertainment activities of the Earth far exceed Asgard. Your bewitching was very successful. Thor also went back to share the experience of the flower world on Earth, which attracted many people from Asgard to go to Earth and temporarily live on Earth. It's just that compared to humans, the Aesir gods are stronger and more difficult to bind, so there will be a little friction between humans and the Aesir gods. You don't care about this, you just hunted the Aesir Protoss secretly and did research and experiments on their bodies. You even transformed some Aesir Protoss into cyborgs, thoroughly brainwashing them, thoroughly stimulating their potential, and giving them huge amounts of boost. You are constantly researching the Aesir gods, trying to find their magic. At the same time, you are also conducting related research on Wanda, but the power in her body is too amazing, you can only come carefully to avoid the other party going berserk, so you have little effect. However, your current focus is not on Wanda, but on the Aesir Protoss. Why better research? You capture a lot of humans and conduct comparative experiments. At the same time, you also used the authority of S.H.I.E.L.D. to wipe your own ass, so that things could not ferment, and finally rot in the dark. 22nd month. After comprehensive research on ordinary Aesir gods and humans, you have successfully increased your lifespan to 1,000 years old, but the ceiling has not been raised. Seeing this, Li Shu's eyes instantly straightened. Although he has gained a lot of abilities before, these abilities do not increase his lifespan. Even people from the motherland will grow old and eventually die. At most, they will decline a little slower than ordinary people, and their life expectancy will be doubled. But it is short-lived. Evil Dao successfully increased his lifespan by studying the Aesir Protoss. And it directly increased his lifespan to 1,000 years. Maybe 1,000 years old is nothing for many powerful beings in the universe. But to him, it was already a huge amount of leap. After all, no one wants to live longer. Ordinary Aesir Protoss won't work after all, only higher-level Protoss can raise your ceiling. In addition, you also used these Aesir Protoss cells to do research on terminally ill cells, and the results were the same as the Hulk, and these guys exploded directly. Asgard also vaguely felt that some clan members were missing, because some clan members began to lose contact, and sent people to Earth to investigate and communicate with S.H.I.E.L.D. You said to these people that you will help them to the greatest extent possible and investigate the reasons why the clan may disappear. Li Shu's eyes twitched. This is really the feeling of, who is kneeling under the hall, and why are you suing this official? Let the evil way to investigate the evil way, that's okay. Definitely, when you hunted their clansmen, you used magic to hide your behavior, and you also hid your laboratory to avoid being investigated. Facts have proved that the effect is still good. However, you understand that if you can resist for a while, it is definitely impossible to resist forever. You don't know when you will be completely exposed. You understand what you need to do, and you speed up your research at the same time. 23rd month. Loki launched an invasion of the Earth, you stood up, and with your own power, you wiped out all the fleets with a force that terrified the world. For the first time, you showed your strength in front of the whole world. Shocked the whole world. J. At the same time, you have become the undisputed #1 hero in the eyes of all mankind, you have become an idol in the hearts of countless people, and your prestige and influence can reach almost every corner of the Earth. 24th month. You know that the Spider Queen is about to break out. For the sake of safety, you chose to leave New York City during this time. After all, you don't know that after blessing countless monsters, the Spider Queen's strength has reached to what extent. You set your sights on Thor. As the royal family of the Aesir gods, Thor hides a very powerful potential and a long life. Through him, you can break your own ceiling and get the ladder to level Godfather. You understand, if you want to raise the ceiling, you must start with him. In addition, you don't know how long you can hide the Aesir Protoss thing, you must do it as soon as possible. 25th month. During this period of constant cultivation, you have successfully tapped your potential and increased your ultimate strength to 1,500 tons. Afterwards, no matter how much you practice, you will not be able to go any further. Your flight speed has increased to Mach 8, and your super perspective and super hearing ability have reached a radius of 15 kilometers. The radius reached 15 kilometers, that is to say, half of New York City could be seen by him. He moved a little, and the entire New York City had a panoramic view. You urgently need to break the ceiling, you understand that it is imperative to capture Thor. 31st month. You have been looking for an opportunity to capture Thor, but have not found it. In addition, the tribe has not been found, causing Asgard to pay more attention, and began to withdraw his own people one after another. You understand that your time is running out and you are full of urgency. 32nd month. You have been looking for opportunities, but have not found them. 33rd month. You start to get anxious, because as Asgard's people continue to withdraw, Thor will also leave at that time. 35th month. You finally found a suitable opportunity, you successfully attacked and captured Thor, and erased all traces. You began to carry out high-intensity research and experiments on him, through continuous dissection and experimentation. With the support of the previous Acer Protoss experiment, your research on Thor has progressed very smoothly and very quickly. You are in Acer Protoss. From their cells, you find a very strange DNA. It is the unique DNA of Protoss, very different, contains extraordinary power, contains a lot of life information and rules. Acer Protoss, the divine power comes from this DNA. Humans do not have this DNA, nor can they produce this DNA. Only this DNA can be transplanted. After transplantation, humans will gain the power of the Acer Protoss. Definitely, the premise is that the transplanted human must be very strong and can withstand the transformation of the Protoss DNA. Your strength has surpassed Thor at the current stage, and your body is extremely strong, so you can withstand it. It's just that the people who have the DNA of the Protoss taken away will die directly. You also found similar Protoss DNA from Thor, but Thor's DNA contains far more power than ordinary Acer Protoss, and there is a majestic power inside. You seem to be able to see the endless sea of thunder, a vast sea of life information and rules. You directly chose to transplant this Protoss DNA. At the moment when the transplant was successful, the infinite power of thunder erupted from that piece of Thorna, and then an amazing vision erupted. You run through the endless thunder, soaring into the sky, splitting the passage above the laboratory, flying over the kilometer of the earth, and rushing to the sky. The terrifying thunder rises from the earth and smashes into the sky. It seems that the earth has become a thundercloud, and the sky has become the earth, and everything is turned upside down. This terrifying and strange vision was seen by people in New York and even farther away. Countless people were shocked. No one thought that the thunder would smash into the sky from the earth. However, everything is not over. On the earth, a vision is born, and the monstrous thunder and lightning gather into the sea. The infinite thunder is like a gathering of dragons. There is no sea of clouds, only pure thunder. All these visions are beyond your imagination, because this is something that other Protoss DNA has not been transplanted before. Only Thor's Protoss DNA has such a terrifying vision. The terrifying thunder that split from the ground rushed into the sea of thunder with a 10,000 force. The thunder sea was swayed, and the majestic thunder swept down. The sound of rumbling was like a roar of heaven, and it rushed straight into the earth, rushed into the basement, rushed into inside your body. It is both a punishment and a gift from God. Infinite thunder enters your body, tearing your cells apart, but they reorganize quickly, tearing and reorganizing in a cycle, constantly engraving more thunder marks and more thunder power in your cells. In the end, the infinite thunder disappeared into your body, and into the incomparably small DNA of the Protoss. Thor's body was forged by the infinite thunder, and it is the kind of thunder awakening, the kind that evokes the thunder of the world. It is not the previous Thor who has no power of thunder without a hammer. You are far more than him in the control of thunder. At this point, you have completely replaced Thor and become a new Thor, a Thor with an orthodox divine vein, not the barrel thunder gift given by Meow Meow Hammer. You gain the power of Thor, which is completely awakening, to control the thunder, and your life limit is increased to 5,000 years old. In this infinite thunder penalty, your body has gained huge amounts of benefits, and the ultimate strength has skyrocketed by 500 tons. The ultimate strength has reached 2,000 tons. Feeling the surging power of thunder from all over your body, you are ecstatic. Your road through level Godfather has been opened up. This road will not have bottlenecks, it will be a clear road. You who are ecstatic and despicable, do not know that you are about to die. You killed Thor. You will completely inspire the wrath of God King Odin in his last twilight years, and you will bear the terrifying power of level Godfather. And Thor, on the side, lost the DNA of the Protoss, completely lost the most important divinity, and died. Asgard, Odin frowns tightly, anxious about his son's disappearance. At this moment, he felt a piercing pain and fell to the ground. He felt that Thor died, his only biological son, died at this moment. A tear flowed from the corner of Odin's eyes, fell to the ground, solidified into a pearl, and there was Thor's smile in it. The pain of losing a child in his twilight years attacked the old man, and the wailing roar resounded throughout the Asgard god realm. Odin exploded. The light returned and returned to the peak at this moment. The infinite Odin divine power poured out of the body, and in the depths of Asgard, the infinite Odin divine power poured out and submerged into Odin's body. The terrifying divine might pervades the 9 realms. Odin's eyes penetrated time and space, and came to the earth. He looked at the almost endless sea of thunder, the sea of Thunder was like a god's crown, and he seemed to be crowning someone as a god. Someone is making a new Thor. He instantly understood that someone took away his child's godhead, causing the other party to fall. Infinite anger erupted from Odin's body. With a terrifying roar, he crossed the sea of stars and descended on the earth. The monstrous divine might enveloped the world, and the Ancient One appeared, but she was no match for Odin, who had returned to his peak. God King Odin ignored this earth Asgardian. He looked directly at you in the earth, and launched an attack on you. You were powerless to resist, deprived of your life, and slowly fell to the ground. In order to prevent Odin from continuing to vent his anger, Ancient One took action. She took out the Protoss DNA from you, put it into Thor's body, and borrowed Waishandi's powerful magic. Thor resurrects. You are dead. At the end, Li Shu's mouth twitched. This evil way is really too powerful. Forcibly deprived Thor of his godhead, installed it on himself, and finally killed Thor. This was something he didn't expect. However, he could see that Rage's Odin was really terrifying, and even overwhelmed Ancient One. But then he got excited again. After all, this simulation brought him huge amounts of harvest, beyond his imagination. The strength has skyrocketed from more than 800 tons to 2,000 tons. He also obtained Thor's life character of complete awakening, and the way of the Father will be unimpeded, and he also obtained the ability of electric elementalization of electric light. Electro-optical electric energy needs external support. But as Thor, he can generate electricity by himself, which is just in line with the Electric Man ability, which greatly improves the durability of his electrification. And he also has a long lifespan of 5,000 years. A lifespan of 5,000 years is almost the age of an ancient civilization on Earth. It's been a very long time. You can watch countless ebbs and flows, and the society has turned around. This simulation is over. The number of simulation days is months, and the cooling time is hours. Analog level. S. When the simulation level reaches S, you can solidify a golden level or an ability below the golden level, or randomly reward it once. Please choose to inherit an ability. The inherited ability will definitely appear in the next simulation. Save Thor's power in full awakening. Save the Electric Man ability. Save the perverted self-healing ability. 5,000 years of life saved. Save 2,000 tons of extreme power. Save Mach 8 flight speed. Save supervision in a 15 km radius. Save super hearing in a 15 km radius. Save the wicked way of training. Save the dragon training method. Boom. The infinite power of thunder poured into Li Shu's body. His physical strength is climbing rapidly, and the limit of his physical strength is also climbing rapidly. 900, 1,000, 1,300, 1,700, 2,000. The majestic power rolled in his body. It was like the raging waves of the sea. With a light stroke of his index finger, it was violent tearing air sounds, and the air was easily torn, setting off a wave of air. The power of terror is evident. At the same time, the terrifying thunder poured into his body, roaring in his body, running, penetrating every cell, igniting every cell. Boom. Li Shu's body roared as if the world had opened up. A brand new godhead DNA emerged from Li Shu's body, and the infinite thunder and mysterious power surged through his body. Every cell begins to sublimate dramatically. Every cell is like a thundercloud, with endless thunder surging and roaring. Rumbling. This sound even spread to the outside world, as if countless people were beating drums in his body. The vision was amazing. On the surface of his body, countless electric arcs jumped out, running around him, extremely lively. In Li Shu's eyes, this moment was filled with endless thunder, incomparably bright and dazzling with electric light. It is like two eyes with a thunder structure. Li Shu raised his hand and squeezed it lightly, and the power of thunder in the cells exploded. Boom. An astonishing thunder erupted from his hands, and the arcs splashed everywhere. The incomparably fierce and astonishing breath seemed to tear everything apart. This moment, Li Shu completely mastered the power of thunder. Feeling the surging power of thunder in his body, Li Shu showed a bright smile. This force is too amazing, too powerful. He stretched out a finger. A ray of lightning overflowed, like a small snake coiling around his fingers. He now has unparalleled control over Raiden. Lightning seemed to be part of him. Immediately after, his mind moved. The whole body instantly turned into lightning. In situ, the body disappeared. In its place was a ball of humanoid lightning. The humanoid lightning easily passed through the training equipment, and it was also unobstructed in the face of obstacles, which was extremely convenient. This group of humanoid lightning began to change. Sometimes it becomes a dragon, sometimes it becomes a tiger, and sometimes it becomes a bird. The powerful thunder control power makes Li Shu even more handy to his own power after elementalization, and can burst out even more powerful power. After a brief change, they changed back to Li Shu. Li Shu grinned. Thor's power really goes well with the Electric Man ability. Because of his lightningization, he has a deeper sense of sympathy with Lei Ting, which will further deepen his understanding and control of Lei Ting. Besides, every cell of his has an unimaginable activity and an incomparably powerful life force. He understands that that is the life force of 5,000 years of life. Compared to his 5,000-year lifespan, he is now 18 years old. Is he considered a very young child? Li Shu thought of this and smiled. Besides, he also now has the incredibly perverted self-healing ability. Even if the internal organs are smashed, there is no problem, and they will soon be able to recover. Even if the bones recovered, it became extremely fast, far exceeding before. Electronization and this perverted self-healing ability have brought his survival ability to an astonishing level. In addition, his super strength and super hearing have also been greatly improved. His eyes swept away, and a quarter of the huge New York City was in his eyes, and a dense crowd of people entered his eyes. He can see every place, birds in the sky, insects in the ground, people on the ground, everything in sight. He can also hear sounds from all corners. Then there is the training method. 2 training methods came to his mind. Just looking at the 2 training methods, Li Shu had a cold war. They are all extremely cruel, even inhuman, and they are even called torturers. If this is done properly, people will almost be scrapped. No wonder Fei Fei Long couldn't bear it, and if he could bear it, the dragon went crazy. However, the 2 sets of training methods are not useless, and the transformation can still be used. Although the effect is not so significant, it is also an excellent training method. Especially the dragon training method, after the transformation, can greatly tap the potential of the extraordinary dragon, but it is too tiring and too hard. However, if you want to be strong, how can you not endure hardship? Li Shu grinned. The extraordinary dragon who was playing a game in the distance was another cold war. His eyelids jumped. If it knew what happened, it would only say, "Brother Li, don't come here." With the training method, the extraordinary dragon will undergo earth-shaking changes. At that time, even if he didn't make a move, the extraordinary dragon could almost walk sideways on the earth. At that time, his little pet will also be able to dominate the world. The corners of Li Shu's mouth twitched slightly. Apart from these, through the simulation, his mana has also doubled again. Although it is still not much, it is a lot more abundant than before. After a few more simulations, his mana should be enough for him to fight, not just as an auxiliary means. Being able to do this is mainly due to the subtle control of mana, which was exercised by the magic wizard last time. Otherwise, even if other magicians have these mana, they will not be able to form effective combat power at all. Li Shu immediately thought of the unknown terminal illness. In the end, the evil ways have not conquered it. Not even able to do a real delay. However, this ability or this unknown terminal disease is really good, all-round buffs, and many aspects of the training speed are increased. In some respects, it is even more powerful than the heavenly rewards for diligence. Definitely, the 7-year limit is also a big flaw. But it's not a big problem. Next, it is the ability to choose curing. Evil Tao, evil scientist. This ability doesn't need to be thought about, just pass it. Unknown terminal disease. This thing has a 7-year limit, and it has not been solved yet, so this ability does not need to be thought about, nor can it be solidified. So in the end, the only thing that can be solidified is Heaven's Way rewards diligence. As for inheritance, that is unknown terminal disease. After all, this thing can be inherited 3 times, and it is still a bonus to all aspects of cultivation. And Heaven's Way rewards diligence can only be inherited once, so it is impossible for him to continue to inherit Heaven's Way rewards diligence. Just enough to inherit this ability. Thought here. He opened his mouth and said, "I choose to solidify, God rewards diligence." Solid purple ability, Heaven's Way rewarding diligence. Next moment, Li Shu felt that something had improved in the dark. Naturally, the practice efficiency has been improved. He showed a small smile. S-level curing purple ability, get a random compensation. You get a prescription gift package. Open the big gift package. You will get the pharmacy prescription for permanent beauty. You will get the 100-year-old pharmacy prescription. Do you want to receive it? Here the reward. Li Shu was slightly taken aback. He didn't expect such a reward at all. Longevity and longevity. Li Shu's mouth twitched. The appearance of permanent appearance does not seem to have much effect on him. After all, his lifespan has increased by 5,000 years, and his growth cycle has been stretched almost infinitely. If he wants to mature a little, it is estimated that it will take hundreds of years. After 1 or 2,000 years, he was young and middle-aged. But life is okay. After all, no one thinks too much about lifespan, right? But on second thought, although the appearance of permanent residence did not have much effect on him, but it can be used by his woman. In that way, Gwen will always be 18 years old in the mood for love, always at her most beautiful, always a girl full of collagen. Thinking of this, Li Shu showed a smile. In addition, life extension is also very useful for Gwen. After all, it can prolong life by 100 years, which almost doubles life expectancy. It has always been this way. This reward is actually quite beneficial to him. After all, he is also the one who benefits. Receive back quote, Li Shu said. Subsequently, a memory flooded into Li Shu's mind. It is the memory of the 2 medicinal prescriptions. Quickly scanning the 2 medicine prescriptions, Li Shu showed a satisfied smile. Comfortable. The only possible trouble is that you need to get some raw materials. For example, the chicken bull monster hidden underground in Antarctica needs its blood to extract anti-aging factors from it. Li Shu recalled slightly. He vaguely remembered this kind of creature. This monster basically looked like a muscular chicken, sleeping in the ice layer all the time. It appears that the glaciers have melted as the hole in the ozone layer continues to widen, causing the chicken bull to finally wake up from its long hibernation. This guy is still relatively strong, definitely not targeting him, but a general superhero, which is quite tricky. But for the current him, that is a little monster who can easily handle it. He filtered the information in his mind, and he could basically get these raw materials. Thinking of this, he nodded slightly. Curing is complete. The next step is to inherit the ability. Li Shu thought for a while and decided to choose unknown terminal illness. After all, for him, the current ceiling is raised beyond the planet, and there is no need for research abilities for the time being. Cultivation ability is more practical for him at present. So Li Shu said, I choose to inherit unknown terminal disease. Inherit the purple ability, unknown terminal disease. The next simulation will definitely appear. Look at the ability of unknown terminal disease. Li Shu touched his chin. I don't know what this terminal illness is. Why is there such a powerful buff? I don't know what will happen after the cure. Li Shu was puzzled. I can only see if the next simulation can solve this thing. If it can be unraveled, there may be unexpected joy. Next, he's going to find some time to go to where Thor's hammer is. It's time to bind Thor's hammer. Then wait for the destroyer armor to come, and bind it. Or go to Antarctica, get the blood of the chicken bull monster, and make Gwen a permanent face potion at that time. Also, by the way, Wanda was rescued. Li Shu made up his mind. Immediately, he walked out of the gravity room, and when his hand touched, the gravity room was immediately included in the bracelet. The huge gravity room disappeared without a trace. Seeing this, Li Shu can't help but sigh. It is good to have a space bracelet. After doing this, Li Shu left the house and headed home. Driving Tony's supercar, Li Shu soon returned home. However, it is also a problem to use someone else's car all the time. Li Shu decided to take out the gold during this time. Then take out a portion and buy a car. Li Shu locked the car and took the elevator upstairs. Once home, Li Shu saw that Fei Long was still fighting hard, cracking at the gamepad, and was very invested. He even sprayed each other with his voice on. Sheet, bitch, do you like sneak attacks so much? You don't talk about martial arts, do you? Do you know who Lao Su is? Lao Su is a super dragon from the planet Kakarantara. F***ku. Be careful, or I will fly to your house and burn you to death. There was a dialogue from the voice. Bitch. If you don't come, I look down on you. I'm the glory of Asgard, Thor. Look at me if I don't make you a worm. Listening to the two of them squirting, Li Shu was ashamed. Hearing the words on the other side of the voice, Li Shu was stunned for a moment, then smiled. Now that Thor has come to Earth, there can't be a real Thor there. It should have been because Fifanlong called himself a super dragon, thinking that Fifanlong was bragging, so the other party also bragged. So when you play games, sometimes you really don't know what your opponent is. Fei Long was playing in the morning and is still playing now. Li Shu didn't expect that Fei Long's game addiction was still a bit big. Seeing that Fei Feilong was so leisurely, Li Shu also understood that he really had to find something to do for the other party. Otherwise, if you play like this, the dragons will be scrapped. Seeing Li Shu's return, Fei Feilong immediately put down the handle obediently, twitched his tail, and smiled. "Boss, you're back." Li Shu felt that it was a bit strange to be called the master, so he asked the other party to change his tune. Looking at the extraordinary dragon with a bright smile, Li Shu also smiled. It's just that his smile is meaningful. However, the extraordinary dragon did not see it. It came up and asked, "Master, do you want me to make food?" Li Shu hadn't finished eating yet, and was indeed a little hungry now. He nodded. "Okay, you can go get something." Soon Fei Feilong brought him a sumptuous dinner. I have to say, Fei Feilong is really a master chef. Just looking at the dishes on that table, Li Shu's mouth was full of saliva, and his index finger moved. Li Shu ate quickly. Seeing Li Shu eating, Fei Feilong was ready to play games again. Looking at Fei Feilong's back, Li Shu's mouth twitched slightly, and he immediately asked, "Have you been playing games for a day today?" Fei Feilong replied happily, "Yes, master. The game is really interesting. I can continue to fight all day and night without getting tired." Hearing this, the smile on Li Shu's face became even wider. "Not tired, that's even better. Originally, I was thinking of letting Feifenlong start training tomorrow. But now, it seems, this guy really has too much energy. You can start practicing tonight." As for practice, he already has a lot of creation process of cultivation methods in his mind, so changing the dragon cultivation method of the evil way can be completed soon. Li Shu took a bite of the meat and said with a smile, "Combining work and rest, it's been a long day today, and it's time for to work." Fei Feilong, who was rushing to the game console, stopped immediately. "Lao. A moment, what's it?" "What, boss?" Li Shu said with a smile. "Naturally, it is to tap your physical potential and cultivate." Hearing this, Fei Feilong's little tail shook slightly, the happiness on his face disappeared without a trace, and he said in a low voice, "Tonight. Tonight. Is it going to start practicing? Will it be too urgent? I didn't do anything to prepare." Li Shu swallowed a large piece of meat and said easily, "It's okay, I have already arranged it." There was a trace of bitterness on Fei Feilong's face, and he said softly, "Oh." Li Shu then said, "As long as you complete today's cultivation task, you can continue to play the game. As long as you complete the daily cultivation tasks, you can arrange the rest of the time casually." Hearing this, Fei Feilong's eyes lit up in an instant, and it regained its vigor in an instant, and hurriedly said, "Okay, boss. Then let's hurry up and practice. I can't wait to have a big fight." In Fei Feilong's view, isn't it just exercise? In normal cities, those human beings spend an hour or two working out hard every day for fitness. These human beings can endure the hardships of fitness. Can't it be an extraordinary dragon? Endure hardship. Fengcheng Game Dragon. See the extraordinary dragon who is full of energy and energy. The smile on Li Shu's face grew even wider. Extraordinary dragon doesn't know what will happen next, it doesn't know what it will face. In the whole dragon's mind, what he thought was to exercise for 5 minutes, play for 2 hours, exercise for 2 hours, and play for a whole day. Li Shu naturally also saw what the other party was thinking. As a person who knows the pain training method in the weight of the gravity room, he is looking forward to the state of the extraordinary dragon after the real exercise, whether it will be so full of energy. Li Shu said with a smile, "I'll take you to practice when I finish eating first." Fei Feilong nodded vigorously. "Okay. Then I'll go play the game again. Boss, hello. Call me when the time comes." With his head held high, his eyes full of confidence, he patted his chest. "Boss, I will definitely train very hard later. As a dragon, I have no advantages, but I can endure hardships." After speaking, it immediately rushed to the game console and began to play games happily. Li Shu smiled even more when he saw the other party's critical moment, and he didn't forget to play 2 games at this time. The extraordinary dragon should indeed exercise well. This is not a good exercise. How can it be worthy of the powerful bloodline of the dragon clan? How can it be worthy of the training method in gravity room in his hands? Li Shu ate fast, and the wind swept the entire table as quickly as possible. While eating, Li Shu's brain was still running, rapidly improving the dragon training method. After he finished eating, a brand new dragon training method was freshly released. After doing this, Li Shu snapped his fingers. All the dishes automatically flew to the dishwasher and started washing themselves. After doing this, Li Shu said with a smile, "Let's go, Xiaolong." Fei Fei Long immediately put down the handle, got up and ran towards Li Shu. When it came to Li Shu, the whole dragon was excited. Let's go, boss, I'm ready. It is gearing up, ready to quickly complete the exercise program, and then come back to play the game. Li Shu patted Fei Fei Long and nodded with satisfaction, full of energy, not bad. The extraordinary dragon smiled. Li Shu stroked lightly. Suddenly a portal opened. The two came to the Skyline Canyon. In this huge valley, almost no creatures are moving. Because this place has almost become the territory of extraordinary dragons, no other animals dare to come here, making this place almost a forbidden area for animals. As soon as Fei Fei Long came out, he jumped vigorously and couldn't wait to move his limbs. Boss, how do you exercise? I'm completely ready. Li Shu grinned. Just do some push-ups, sit-ups, running, and a little bit of other exercise. When Fei Fei Long heard this, his eyes suddenly became brighter. Just do some push-ups, sit-ups. It originally thought that it would be a little difficult, and it would carry a large iron block or something to exercise. The result was unexpected. That's it. The smile on Fei Fei Long's face couldn't be stopped, a proud question mark face. Do some push-ups, run some steps, then isn't it Fei Fei Long still within reach? Complete this daily task in minutes. Fei Fei Long seemed to think for Li Shu's sake and said, Boss, do you want to add a little more? After all, I'm too weak, and it's humiliating for you. You say no. Hearing this, the smile on Li Shu's face became extremely rich. We'll think about how to increase the burden. This is a mature dog. Li Shu slapped his mouth and said, I originally thought that the amount might be a little heavy, but since you have said so and are so willing to work hard, that's fine, just add a little more. Hearing Li Shu's words, Fei Fei Long waved his hand indifferently. What kind of weight is this, boss? Let me tell you, I am also a dragon after all. I will never allow you to look down on me. I will prove it to you tonight. I am not inferior at all, Aaron. Hearing this, Li Shu sighed slightly. After all, I underestimated your enterprising spirit, Aaron. He patted Fei Fei Long on the shoulder and encouraged, I'm very optimistic about you. The extraordinary dragon's chin lifted higher. Done. Li Shu waved his hand, and the huge gravity room appeared out of thin air before their eyes. Seeing Li Shu conjure such a big thing out of thin air, Fei Fei Long's expression froze for a moment. How did you do it, boss? Li Shu said with a smile. It's nothing, it's just that I carry a subspace with me, and some of my things are placed in it. You can take it out or put it in at any time. Fei Fei Long's eyes widened. Is it okay? It can be considered to have flown a lot of planets, and some knowledgeable guys, but it has never heard of such a mysterious method. Carry a subspace. Space to carry? This is so bizarre. Fei Fei Long originally thought that his boss was a powerful and mysterious person. Now, it feels that it is no longer mysterious, but a little mysterious. As a big-hearted guy, it immediately gathered its attention and focused on the gravity room. It looked at the gravity room suspiciously and said, Boss, what is this? Gym. You won't. Let me train in the gym. Li Shu said with a smile. It's barely a gym, but there are some special functions. Let's go in. After saying that, he led Fei Fei Long inside. Fei Fei Long walked in and found nothing unusual. It can't figure out why the boss let it exercise in the gym. After all, the gym can't be effective for it. But it quickly put the issue behind it. After all, in its view, completing the exercise task and then going back to play games is the most important thing. As for the rest, Fei Han Long doesn't care. Fei Fei Long said excitedly, Boss, let's start training. Saying that, it shook its body excitedly. Seeing the other party's excitement, Li Shu smiled in his heart. He said, I'll teach you some exercises first, which can help you better tap your physical potential. Fei Fei Long nodded quickly. Afterwards, Li Shu began to teach the opponent the professional exercises in the dragon training method. These movements, when combined with heavy pressure, would produce very significant work. With Li Shu constantly teaching, the extraordinary dragon starts constantly completing the corresponding actions. The beginning is okay, not too strenuous to do. Fei Fei Long was so complacent, he said while doing it, Don't worry, I will definitely complete the action that the boss gave me today. But doing the latter is not only laborious, but also a little painful. Fei Fei Long's expression was already a little reluctant, and he forced a smile. Don't worry, boss, I will try my best to do every action well. It's okay to suffer a little. Immediately it asked, Boss, is there any action? Li Shu said with a smile. Today's volume was originally this much, but you insisted on increasing it, so there will be a few more movements. Hearing this, Fei Feilong's smile froze slightly. It immediately coughed a few times and forced a smile. It's okay, just a few moves, I can persevere. In order to become the boss's right-hand man, it's nothing to suffer. Speaking of which, don't forget to pat your ass. After completing the last few movements with difficulty, Fei Feilong gasped slightly and sweated on his forehead. There was no smile on its face, only pain. Thinking of doing these things in a loop for a while, it feels a little bitter in the mouth. It never imagined that some actions would be so laborious and painful to do. It is now very regretful in my heart, and the thing that made the increase before. If it can go back to the past, it will definitely slap itself, damn it, let you pretend. Bitter tears flowed from Fei Feilong's heart. Fei Feilong held a smile on his face. Boss, I will complete these tasks well, then I will start exercising. Li Shu raised his hand and smiled, no hurry, and Fei Feilong's expression changed slightly. Is there any other movements you haven't taught? Li Shu waved his hands and said, today's movements have been taught. Hearing this, Fei Feilong breathed a sigh of relief. If he added another action, he felt that he might not be able to carry it. Li Shu continued. Just turn on when you exercise, I need to turn on the special function of this house to assist your exercise. Fei Feilong nodded quickly. Okay. Special function? Air conditioner? Heat sink? Play a song? The boss is still kind at times. Fei Feilong thought so. Li Shu tapped on the wall a few times. Next moment, strong gravity appeared out of thin air, instantly pressed on Fei Hanlong's body. Boom. The extraordinary dragon immediately fell to the ground. At this moment, countless question marks appeared in Fei Feilong's head. The extraordinary dragon's voice trembled a little, with a hint of panic. Boss. Big. This is the auxiliary function you said. Is it gravity? Exercise is already very hard, if coupled with strong gravity. Fei Feilong couldn't believe it. Li Shu nodded slightly. Yes, it is gravity. With the blessing of gravity, your cultivation will be more effective. This is 50 times the gravity, you need to get used to it first. I have calculated that 70 times is your limit, which can maximize your physical potential. Hearing Li Shu's words, Fei Feilong's eyes went black, and he almost didn't shove it directly. Forget about such an astonishingly hard action, plus gravity, and it's 70 times as much. Is this the workout in its boss's mouth? Are you sure it's not devil torture? I believe in you. You bad old man is very bad. Li Shu nodded slightly, and immediately increased gravity. 70 tons of gravity. Let the extraordinary dragon feel that every cell is as heavy as a mountain. Li Shu said with a smile. Okay, you exercise hard, I'll go back first. There is monitoring here, so you have to exercise honestly, but don't be lazy. But I believe that you definitely don't want to be lazy, and you definitely want to pursue perfection and get the best exercise effect. Saying that, he patted the faucet with a smile. Fei Feilong asked, Boss, won't you exercise with me? Li Shu said with a smile. I have already exercised, and this exercise has little effect on me. After all, Hanging Wall has been training for nearly 3 years today. Done. Li Shu opened the portal and left. After Li Shu left, the gravity room was a whimper. As a result, Fei Feilong began to practice independently for the first time in his life. In order to end the exercise early, it is doing every movement extremely hard. Li Shu looked at the self-conscious extraordinary dragon and nodded with satisfaction. Then I washed and slept. After all, I have to go to New Mexico tomorrow to see where Thor came. Late at night, the extraordinary dragon finally completed his training. It slumped to the ground with no strength at all. The strength to lift a finger was gone. This moment, Fei Feilong remembered the words that he was proud of during the day and added a task, and once again left tears for the young and ignorant. I thought exercise was just pure exercise. Fei Feilong never thought that training could be so terrifying and so hard. It travels the universe in such a peculiar and laborious way as it has never seen before. It's the boss is too mysterious, it's always unexpected. Just at this time, extraordinary dragon can feel the warm current flowing out of every cell in the body. It eased the pain slightly. At the same time, it can feel that its cells are significantly strengthened. After just one workout, you can clearly feel your strength getting stronger, which is amazing. It widened its eyes. This training method is very powerful. After all, normal training will not feel so obvious. As a result, with this training method, once you exercise, you will get a clear feeling. If it continues to increase like this, its strength will definitely undergo huge amounts of changes. It may become the strongest dragon in the Kakarantara planet, from a relatively ordinary dragon to a super strong dragon, even surpassing those powerful old dragons with a long lifespan. Thinking of this, Feifeilong swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Its boss is more powerful than it thinks. Too tired, Feifeilong's thoughts were only halfway through, and his eyelids drooped down. A loud snoring sounded. The animals around the canyon shivered again. The next day. Clear skies. Li Shu stretched and got up from the bed. He glanced at the situation beyond the gravity room. After 4 hours of hard training, the extraordinary dragon has completed the daily tasks and is now dozing off in the gravity room. Roar's purring is loud. During the 4 hours of exercise, Feifeilong did every movement very seriously, although he complained a lot. Li Shu looked at it and nodded slightly. Feifeilong really listened to his words. He took out a door from the storage room and erected it in the extraordinary dragon's room. Then began to attach teleportation magic to that door, connecting it to the door of the gravity room. Soon, he completed the attachment of teleportation magic. Just pressing the teleport knob will activate the teleport effect, making the two doors the same. In this way, opening the door will allow you to pass through the gravity room in the extraordinary dragon's room. Li Shu opened the door, and then the deafening sound of Roar's grunt made the corner of Li Shu's mouth twitch. Li Shu's action awakened Feifeilong. Feifeilong raised his eyelids slowly, only to see Li Shu, who was about to get up. "Boss, I have completed the task you explained." Li Shu waved his hand. "Don't get up, go to sleep, I just tell you, this door can lead to your room. Hear the way home." Feifeilong's eyes lit up slightly. Because home is like a game. Seeing the extraordinary dragon's eyes come to the point of light, Li Shu's mouth twitched a few times. "Guys, don't you still miss the game?" But after all, he was too tired, and Feifeilong decided to sleep again, and then go back to play games. It slowly lowered its eyelids. "Got it, boss." After speaking, the snoring resumed. The efficiency of falling asleep is amazing. Li Shu looked at it and smiled, immediately no longer disturbed. After returning home and having dinner, Li Shu got up and left here, flying towards New Mexico. Outside a remote town. Around a hammer, a temporary laboratory was built. Around the lab, several people surrounded the hammer. Hawkeye, Iron Man, Black Braised Egg. Iron Man has solved the palladium element problem and has more leisure time, so he also came here to see this hammer. Iron Man wears an iron battlesuit and stretches out his hands to pull the hammer. The battlesuit erupted with the greatest power, and the jets on the body were fully opened. It's just that the hammer doesn't move. Hawkeye next to him shook his head. "No, let alone your battlesuit, we have used a lot of trailers with super pulling force. It's useless at all." Hawkeye said. "According to what the man who behaved strangely said before, this hammer seems to need a pure heart and a person who has been recognized to be able to pick it up. Otherwise you will no longer have the power." Iron Man stopped his useless work and looked at the black gravy. "Do you think that person is really Thor? Is there really a god in this world? I heard his words, it's quite the same thing." As far as Iron Man is concerned, the black marinated egg is the one who knows the best about the universe, so he asked the other person. The man they were discussing was, of course, Thor, but he had lost his power. Before Thor came to get the hammer, they were caught as a thief, but he finally let it go. Hey Lu Dan frowned slightly. "I have vaguely heard the legend of the Protoss, but I don't know if he is." Iron Man looked at the hammer and said, "Did no one pick it up? Didn't many people try it?" Hawkeye shook his head. "No one has ever picked it up, maybe no one can pick up this hammer at all." The three frowned and looked at the hammer, all speechless. Suddenly, arcs of electric arcs appeared on Thor's hammer, crackling. Immediately, it buzzed happily, as if something happy happened. The three of them were startled, and they all took a half step back. Several people's eyes widened. Iron Man said, "I'm going. What's going on? Someone doesn't believe the trigger has been touched." Hawkeye's forehead overflowed with cold sweat. "It won't explode." Speaking of this, cold sweat overflowed from behind several people. Then he took a few steps back with great tacit understanding. Just at this time, boom! Thor's hammer erupted with intense thunder. Immediately, he rose from the ground and brought out a tail of thunder. Then it traversed the sky at a bursting speed and galloped towards the town. See this scene. Everyone gasped, and no one thought that this hammer could really explode the power of thunder and fly into the sky. Just like a mythical artifact. The black marinated eggs almost stared out. Mom to fake. Come on. Chase. He and Hawkeye hurried to drive. Iron Man rose from the ground, chasing the departing Thor's hammer. Iron Man looked at the galloping Thor's hammer. Damn, there's no real Thor. Thor is like a zombie walking on the road of the town. Why does he do this? It was because he had just experienced 2 fatal blows not long ago. First, he finds his beloved weapon, Meow, but doesn't pick it up, much to Thor. Furthermore, his brother Loki found him and told him that his father had died, and before he died, he was banished from his hometown of Asgard for good. Thor murmured. Why can't I afford Mjolnir? I'm obviously Thor, I can be Thor. There was a look of pain on his face. He clenched his fists. Damn it. Thor ends up going to the restaurant, trying to drown his sorrows in wine. As a result, at this time, his Asgard comrade in arms found Thor, told him the truth, and expressed that he would take him back. Hearing the words of his comrades, Thor's previous sadness was instantly swept away. He plans to follow his comrades and return to Asgard to settle accounts with Loki. Jane next to her was slightly stunned when she heard all this. Is Thor really the Thor of Thor? Thor walked to Jane and said solemnly, when I go back and deal with the matter, I will come back to you, and then I will hold Thor's hammer and stand in front of you with thunder. Prove to you that I really am Thor. Thor's eyes were very firm and his tone was firm. Jane didn't speak, just nodded slightly. The result is at this time. Boom. A loud explosion sounded. A group of people quickly ran out. Immediately, I saw the destroyer armor, which was frantically destroying. Thor and the others naturally recognized each other at a glance. Thor clenched his fists and gritted his teeth slightly. Damn it. Loki must be doing the trick. He's trying to stop me from going back to Asgard. The comrades looked at the armor and said, let's go up and stop it. You guys get out of here quickly, it's too dangerous. Yes, you leave first. Done. Several Acers rushed towards the destroyer armor. See here. Thor clenched his fists. He hated that he had no power now, and could only be protected by others, but not the people he was close to. At this moment, Thor felt extremely uncomfortable, all because of his previous willfulness, which caused him to be deprived of his power by his father. In the end, Thor pulled up Jane and the others and quickly left this dangerous area. Thor's comrades launched an attack on the destroyer, bursting with astonishing power beyond ordinary people. See these Superman-like beings. Jien and the others were all shocked. These seem to be really gods, and they almost believe Thor's words, and Thor is the real Thor. However, in the face of the destroyer armor, several Protoss are not opponents at all. He was quickly beaten to the core and completely defeated. The crowd fell into despair. See here. Thor gritted his teeth slightly, and he decided to come forward and talk to the manipulator behind the destroyer armor. It's just that Thor is now a mortal body and can easily die. Everyone wanted to stop him. But Thor decided to come forward. Let me come. This is what I caused. Let me end it. Saying that, he slowly walked towards the destroyer armor. Just at this time. Call out. A burst of tearing air sounds rang out. The crowd looked up. I saw a white figure appear. Boom. It fell straight to the ground, and the earth cracked slightly. The figure murmured. Why'd I feel a jumping emotion, an illusion? Everyone looked at the white figure, and their eyes were extremely puzzled and amazed. Who is this? Who are you? Thor asked hesitantly, looking at the figure. Li Shu snorted and said, I'm just passing by, I'll leave right away. At this time, the destroyer armor blew a fiery beam of fire at Li Shu. Be careful. Everyone was shocked, Roar said. One arm of Li Shu's battlesuit disappeared, revealing his shirtless. He lifted up and blocked the blazing flame with one hand. The flames that could easily melt steel, but did not penetrate the hand. Everyone's pupils shrank. Thor was horrified. How could that be? Loki in the shrine held Roar's breath, and a trace of panic flashed in his eyes. How is it possible? Even more amazing. The man walked towards the destroyer with a heat beam.